would become champions of 67. And then he's a Westman, the first game in the thousands. The Steelers would become champions.
Hello and welcome to episode 94 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your hosts Mark and myself Paul. Joining us tonight we have Terence, Ter161 from our former page to the podcast at www.celticrumours.co.uk. You can also check out all the links in the podcast below. On tonight's show we will look at the latest news around the club. We look back in yesterday's game at 3-1 victory against Ross County at the Bovril. Should the 3 p.m. kickoff live TV block be banned? And should gambling and alcohol sponsorship on shots and advertising around clubs on match day, should that also be banned during games? First, I hand off to Mark for a few shout-outs.
No bother, thanks very much, Paul. Usual shout outs to Tim Alloy, Richie and his family at Glasgow Green, Steph's charity, one of the boys for the forum, Steph Boys doing a sponsored walk for St Andrew's Hospice up Ben Nevis. There's a link for that in the description box below at his Just Giving page. If you can afford to get in, and please do, it's really going to a good cause. And there's also a link on, I found another week, we've got a community page thing you can put messages on YouTube, so there's also a link to that as well. Yeah, Terence will be joining us, and hopefully it works tonight, Terence, with this link. Hail, Welshie. Brian, thanks for joining us, Brian. Really appreciate that the other day for you as well, mate. That was really nice of you doing that for us. We're up to 592 subscribers, Paul, so climbing up week by week, we're getting there. So as usual, big shout out to all the new subscribers. And OG Opinionated Glaswegian, he shouts us out on a lot of channels. I'll put a link up if you go and follow him. His videos are mental, but if you just go and follow him, it returns the favour for us. But we're slowly getting there, buddy.
Okay.
That's me.
The latest batch of 10 academy prospects have signed their first professional contracts at the club, with the hope of one day putting on the green and white hoops jersey for the first team in their futures. Head of Youth Academy Chris McCart wished the young lads well and hope that they can make the next step in their adventure with the club. The players are as follows: all are 3-year contracts. Aidan Haddon, 16-year-old midfielder; Kobe O'Donovan, 15 years old defender; Thomas Hatton, 16-year-old midfielder; Josh Deedy, 16-year-old, he's a forward; Daniel Cummins, 16 forward; Kyle Cummins, 16, he's a centre-back; Aidan Cadigan, 16 years, he's a centre midfield; Isa Saleh, 16 years, he's a forward; Michael Fram, 16-year-old defender; Alex Davison, and Alexander Davison, 16-year-old, he's a defender. I'm told, Mark, the one to watch out for is this young lad, Kyle. He's a 16-year-old centre midfielder. He only recently signed there about 2 weeks ago. He's supposed to be the one that is really exciting.
He's the highly rated one out of them all.
Yeah, he's the one of the lot. I think that they're saying will be the one to make it. With young players looking to take the next step, there's also talks that Julian is on his way out, as his agent was in France only last week looking for clubs for his team. For Julian. Julian has been missing from Angers' first 2 squads of the season. James McCarthy looks like to be another Celtic player on the move. According to reports, Sunderland has expressed interest in James McCarthy, whose Celtic career has failed since he came to the club last season. FC Basel, Mark, you said this about Basel, that they would come in for Alvin Ayesi, and I heard reports that they have inquired about a loan to buy option.
I heard that as well, they've been sniffing about him, but I think that was kind of the most obvious choice, wasn't it, really?
And latest reports in Israel, Mark, and Mohammed Abdul Fadi, they've held talks with Celtic, his club, and they told them they're willing to sell him, but only until after they find out what European competition they're in.
Champions League stuff, so, well, that's fair. It's their player, Paul, they're entitled to do that, do you know what I mean? It's worth millions to them, the same as to every other club, so, I mean, what's the fee we're kind of been quoted, Paul? It's not that high, isn't it, no?
No, it's the 800,000 to 1 million, I think, man.
Do you know, I mean, compare that to, like, them qualifying for, they're in the Champions League qualifiers, isn't it? I mean, keeping one of their best players to try and help them qualify, that's fair dues.
Celtic did it like, did they?
No, there's no cup tie rules or anything like that, so it's fair dues, but I definitely still think that's going to be one that happens, Paul.
Do you still think, Terence, you still think these three lads will be away? Don't you? Yessie, McCarthy, Julian, and maybe I'm going to throw Mickey Johnson in there as a loan deal.
Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, even lads. I would see no reason, Paul, for any. Well, McCarthy's a disappointing one. The other lads, unfortunately, I mean, the Julian is way down the pecking order. Mikey Johnson is probably best for his career, and yet he's the same. It's best for his career if he moves on. They just, they're Mikey Johnson's young enough to come back.
Mark, just going on the James McCarthy. Sorry.
No, just if he goes out, because if you looked at not the player but if you looked at the change of Ryan Christie when he went, he was quite slight when he went to Aberdeen, but he came back a different. Christopher or Kilmarnock and came back a different player as well. So maybe it might be the best thing for Mikey Johnson to get regular football.
But that's what I think, Terence, and I said it all last season, is that he needs a run. That's basically what Mickey Johnson needs. He needs a run of games. He needs a season where he's not going to get injured. He's not going to get a run of games at Celtic. He's going to be a big part player. And when he does come into the team, Mark, he's going to be picking up these injuries again because he's not playing regularly. Do you get me?
I think it's best for all concerned that Mikey Johnson goes out on loan, Paul. It's just I don't see how he's going to. He's going to be, as you said, Terence said, a bit part player for us. He'd be better out getting a lot of game time under his belt, and hopefully it'll tough him up a bit. And
Mark, just touching on the James McCarthy one, it's the player himself, I believe, that wants this move, isn't it, Mark? You were kind of upset when you saw it.
It seems to be. It's him that's. I mean, as I've said, Paul, I think he was going to get a chance this season, but it was still going to be limited chances. It was basically another year of trying to prove himself, kind of thing. Whereas I think if he goes to Sunderland, he'll be getting a game with them every week. It's no worked out. It's just sad. I'm not like to cry. I'm not like to upset live in here.
I think it's just because of the way Ange plays, and is McCarthy fast enough to get the ball away the way Ange wants it?
Well, Beaton wasn't fast enough, Paul.
No.
And as I said, I thought that's what Jimmy Mack would have stepped up to. He'd just been like the Beaton player. He'd come on with maybe 20 minutes to go to tighten things up and see the game out. But even if that was the plan, it's no good enough for him, you know.
If it was me there, Mark, James McCarthy would be the direct replacement for Scott Brown, slotting in there with.
Probably.
And I think that was. Do you think that was the thinking of Celtic before Ange came in, Mark, that when Scott Brown left, James McCarthy was available, and they brought James McCarthy in, thinking that he would be Scott Brown's replacement, but then the way we thought Eddie Howe was going to be playing, so he would have probably been there with Eddie Howe as well, I say, but with Ange, it just didn't suit James McCarthy, you know?
No. And I think, as I said, Paul, it was Ange okayed the deal. He gave it the nod that it was alright, and obviously McCarthy passed the medicals and stuff like that. But as you say, maybe even at the time, Ange just thought, look, this is a seasoned professional. I mean, he was pitching teams together. Do you know what I mean? We've spoken about that umpteen times, Paul, about even Tony Ralston and that, and the teams we were putting together at the end of the beginning of last season. So maybe I just thought that his experience in the way, do you know what I mean? Coming in, he'd done my turn last season, and obviously come in, been struggling to get fit, COVID and stuff like that, and it's just no worked out. But I think see if he'd come in and been fit enough to play, Paul, I think he'd have played a lot at the start of last season when Ange was still trying to build his team. I think he would have got a lot more starts. But I think that once it was probably once Ange would got all the players we wanted in the past couple of windows and the next couple, McCarthy would have ended up being a bit part player anyway. But I suppose it was hard. It would be hard for any manager coming in and getting that chance, Paul, to sign a player who with that experience, an internationalist and that. So it's sad that it's not worked out, because I mean, I know a lot of people said at the time, Dermot Desmond must have done this, Dermot Desmond must have done that. And see, honestly, I think there are Celtic fans out there that take a bit of I don't know, no pride, but a wee smugness to themselves, and guys like McCarthy and that, Shane Duffy come in and it doesn't work out right, because I see, we tell you this, what happens when you go and sign Irish players and all that kind of garbage. There's a kind of smugness about it with a lot of people.
Like, I was going to say there...
Get Terence to talk, Paul, because I'm trying to mess about with his volume and that in the background.
Well, I'm going to do the football bit anyway, Ross County anyway. Ross County away at the Dinuel has always been a tough fixture for Celtic in the place. Again, yesterday results meant that Celtic. Yesterday result meant that Ange's team is exactly what he said. We don't stop, we never stop. Goals from Kyogo, debutant Jens, and a stunner from Abada. Like last season when Ralston scored against Ross County in the 97th minute in the same fixture, Celtic left it late again, yes, when Mortes Jens scored from a bullet header, and Abada making sure the points for Celtic with a stunning strike on the 91st minute. Celtic taking all 3 points home. There was also a stunning display and 3 assists by man of the match, Diego Yata, yesterday. To show that Celtic controlled the game, because after the game, BBC Scotland said that Celtic were lucky. Clyde, what's his name, Marcus? Kevin Crevens or something, is it?
Hugh Keevins.
Hugh Keevins said that Celtic were lucky, and it was the same as last season. He was celebrating that we're going to get a draw live and air again. The stats for the game was Ross County shots 5 to Celtic's 23, on target 2 to Celtic's 7, possession 23 to 77% Celtic, passes 188 to Celtic's 617, accuracy was 55 to Celtic 86%. Terence, like we left it late, but contrast to last season when we were at the Dinuel, Celtic controlled this game, and I felt we were always kept going to break down Ross County yesterday. The 57 minutes I think every Celtic fan got of the game.
Yeah, without a doubt, Paul. I mean, Ross County never came to play. I mean, they literally, when they got the ball, it was literally one unmerciful hoof that into the field and tried to hold on as much. It's like when you were a young guy and you played backs and forwards. I mean, that's what it was like. I mean, Celtic had all the ball, they had all the possession. The referee, I know what you're going to talk about that further in the field. The referee let a lot go, in my opinion. There was a lot of fairly robust tackles that seemed to be waved on. But look, Celtic were the dominant team by a long way. Yeah, they were caught a little bit rotten with the equaliser, but they deserved to win. You know, they deserved to win, and then they looked really good yesterday against a dogged side and a place where it's hard to get a result. Like, let's not forget, this is a place where the other crowd across the city drew 3-3, and it was a major third twist in the league title last year. So it's a huge result to come away out of there with a win. Whether it was a 2-1, whether it was a 3-1, and Celtic showed that they have great fighting qualities. They kept going, they kept digging, as Ed says, we keep going, and it was a goal. Yeah, delighted with Celtic performed yesterday. They never stopped from the start. As I said, kept going and very very professional, very clinical when it came to it.
Mark, what about Mortes Jens? He stepped in yesterday. I think him stepping in yesterday clearly shows that Julian isn't a part of Ange's plans. But I think he's going to score goals for us this season. He seems to be a unit in the air.
It was a cracker
He's
of
a
a goal,
bullet.
Paul. It really was, man.
Mhm.
It's a typical what you call kind of typical centre half's goal for a corner. But how many
Something we've
times have
been
we
marking the
exactly,
hand.
Paul? He's added it right away. He's added a good bit of height to our defence, which is one of the things we've been kind of screaming out for, isn't it?
Like this is a fella Mark who we said is coming in as backup to Starfelt and Welch and things like that because but
No, I
if he
think it's
continues playing
I
where he
think
plays,
no, I
Mark, he's a
think
bit of a
that's hit,
unit,
Paul.
yeah.
That's hit.
Yeah.
It's up to it's for me. It's CCV plus AN other, and the other jersey's just up for grabs, Paul. It really is. And as long, I mean, we've spoke about this before. You can't just drop him because somebody else. He's not like your. I mean, you wouldn't class Star. I like Starfield, you know that, but you wouldn't class him as like your main man. So it's not as if he's alright. It's not like McGregor. If McGregor's out injured, as soon as he's fit, he's back in the team, no matter what. Do you know what I mean? It's one of the jerseys that's up for grabs for whoever's performing to the best of their ability.
It's like
Evening, Mikey. Thanks for joining us, bud.
it was like Mark that he was at Celtic all along. The way he just stepped into Andrew's system, passing the ball. He nothing silly out of him. I know some people said he could have done better with the goal. Fair enough, but it was his first game. Like I'd be really confident going into any game, Mark, with him and Vickers as our centre back if that's it.
Yeah, definitely. Aye, I would be quite happy with that for what I seen him yesterday, Paul.
Uh, Again, we saw Terence how important Joe Hart is to this Celtic team. 1-1, it was a free kick to Ross County, going down to the bottom left corner. Joe Hart saves it and saves the rebound as well. He's shown again still this season, even that we signed Seagrass, like Joe Hart's the main man.
Oh, listen, without a doubt, Paul, and you can go through all of last season as well, and I mean,
hmm
it's I always remember what Mark saying it was I think it was JFD used to say that McGregor when the year that the other crowd won it was worth 20 points.
hmm
Hart is becoming very similar to Celtic, like Hart is
hmm
becoming a big time player, and he's saving it. He's earning Celtic an awful lot of extra points with his performances, his saves. You can see how Paul why he has 75 caps for England and he's won Premier Leagues and he's played at the highest level.
hmm hmm
You know, he's an outstanding goalkeeper. He's an outstanding communicator. Everything about him, he does very well. Yeah, he has the odd bit mad moment, but listen, most players have a bit of a mad moment now and again. But he's an unbelievable asset for Celtic to have, and you know he could he's you know as I said, Seagrass is certainly the number two, but Joe Hart is number one by a long, long way.
Because Mark, like 1-1, if that went in, 2-1 to Ross County, there was no way we were winning that game because they would just sat back, 11 men behind that ball, and it would have been down to the nerves.
Paul, I don't care what anybody says. That save for Joe Hart was world class yesterday.
Three points, Mark. Like, it's the
It
difference
really
between
was. I mean, when
winning
you
the game
watch it
now.
again, it really was. I mean, don't get us wrong. You're saying a lot of people are blaming the big German for the goal. I thought Hart could have done better with the goal, to be honest, Paul. But the save more than made up for that. That was a world class save for a guy, even for a guy at that age, Paul. I mean, the reflexes start,
down,
but
Matt,
you have the reflexes in that at that age, Paul, still to be able
Yeah.
to pull off saves like that. A cracking save.
You know, like the double, like to react, Mark, that quickly after him getting down is, for me, was top notch. But there
I
was
think,
one.
see by the time Joe Hart leaves Celtic, our people of our generation will be arguing whether it would be like him or Boric or Foster would be like who would be
Definitely.
the best. It will be by the time Hart leaves.
Can you imagine though? We had a chance to sign him under Neil Lennon, and we went for Barkas. Do you know what I mean?
Don't even joke about
but
that.
we had a chance to sign Joe Hart from Spurs the year we lost the 10. and they decided to go 5 million for Barkas because supposedly our coaching staff at the time thought Joe Hartmark was past this. You know,
Well,
But,
that just
but,
shows you then.
I mean,
in saying that, though, Paul, in saying that, if you had put out a general survey to say, do you want a keeper from, was either A Athens, or do you want Joe Hart from Spurs, who was second or third choice goalkeeper? A lot of people would have gone for
is
Barkas.
that true? That's true.
They probably would have Terence. Aye, that's a good point.
Going by the modern things now, Mark,
Yeah.
that we do know, right, with the stats and stuff like that, you probably would go with Parkers.
Because well, right away you're saying a washed up ex-England goalkeeper,
Yeah.
or this young-ish fancy foreign keeper that's going to cost us £5 million. As a majority of fans would have took Barkas. Right, aye, you're bang on with that, Terence, without a doubt, bud.
But if you look before Barkas leaves, Mark, when there was Barkas, Spain, and Joe Hart there, the only one realistically that could play Andrew's system was Barkas, because Barkas was good with the feet. Barkas is a modern goalkeeper. Do you remember I was saying that before?
Aye.
Like, you know, one display yesterday by one man, a hat trick of assist. For me, Jota has to play on the left. I know Mickey said it yesterday on Discord. He said it on the live chat. He said it on the forum. Kevin said it. Barry Forbes said it. Mark, he has. I don't know what Andrew's going to do to get him reading that team, but we're losing a big effect of Josh's game when he's not on the left.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree, Paul. But it's a bit of the modern game thing. They swap the during the game. They keep swapping wingers and things like that. Maybe it's just something we're going to have to get used to. But Jota is far more effective going down that left hand side without a doubt. Aye.
Even young Abada, Terence, coming on, changing the game. You know.
Yeah. And I was actually going to just say that to Paul. Like, certainly the Jota one is a definite one. But Abada's putting his hand up to go, listen, I should be a starter. I understand probably why he plays my area with it, the way he's work rate and tracking back and the whole lot. But the two lads, Jota and Abada, can certainly work back as well. But I think it's nearly becoming more effective when Jota is on the left and Abada is on the right. Let's be honest, as we said there before. Look at Abada's stats. Like, look at him with the goals, the assists he had last year for a guy who was 19 or 20. It was phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the stats, like Abada and Jota together. Imagine that's your two wingers putting in these kind of performances every season.
Exactly.
And back keeping these stats going, he assists. So do you get what I mean? Yep. That's frightening if you think about it. I still think Maeda's would be better getting a chance through the middle. Not as a striker, just coming off the midfield. I definitely would prefer to see him in there.
I think, Mark, that's where we saw Mark. Sorry, Terence, with over in Japan, Mark. When I sent things with you, that's where he seemed to be starting his runs, was through the centre.
But then you're taking away into the kind of Turnbull, one of the two attacking positions, Turnbull or O'Reilly, whatever one it is. I mean, it's good problems to have. Let's face it, lads, it's better than sitting here moaning the way we were starting. Do you get what I mean? Starting last season, you know.
There's one player, Mark, you mentioned.
Good to be positive about things.
O'Reilly, and I thought O'Reilly again yesterday just controlled Celtic's game.
I love him, the new Paul. Honestly, I just think he's a great footballer to sit and watch.
Because for me, everything
it seems to have it all as well. It seems to be a bit, dare I say it, a bit like Paul McStay, didn't he? He's got a bit of everything about him. He can get forward, he can get back and get tackles in. He's got a good engine on him, kind of thing.
It's a sign of a good. It's a sign of a good player. It's a sign of a good player when you look at the likes of O'Reilly. The one thing that always strikes me about those good players is they seem to have tons of time. For some reason, they seem to have tons of time on the ball, and they're able to, just like Paul McStay in the day, or if you look
at Dan and Scholes and folk like that turns into the just no matter how many men are about them, they still find the time to do something.
Or the Chavies. I mean, yes, I'm not putting O'Reilly in those categories, but I'm saying he just has that. The first touch is always right. It's always away from someone, and he puts himself into space, and he just looks so comfortable. He's one of those fellas. He probably pisses ice cubes. He's so cool. Do you know what I mean?
What about that for Welsh there? Would you agree with that? Maid is a squad player, just not a first starter for me.
He has to be at the minute. He has to be at the minute, Mark. He has to be at the minute. To go back to your point, about the stats about the two wingers, what I was going to say, if you gave those stats out and didn't put the names of Jota and Nevada, and you said these are the stats, where do those players play? People play, oh, they must be the Premier League or they must be one of the big leagues. They wouldn't think they were playing for Celtic in Scotland. Like,
I put this to you, Mark. Do you think Maida is struggling with the Scottish game?
I don't know if he's struggling with the Scottish game. I think he's struggling to find a kind of a slot in Angie's team, Paul, to be honest.
You know,
I think that's more what it is, where I'm struggling to adapt to the game or that.
Yeah,
thanks, hail, Sean. Thanks for joining us, bud.
It's not the...
It's a new name, is it no, Paul? Sean Ross?
Sean Ross, yeah. I think, Mark, the reason Ange puts him in there is because if we take him out, Ange is losing his style of play in the press. Do you get me?
Maybe be that. Ange is just looking at the way he presses the opposition, and he's got that energy. But I mean, Paul, he's not really producing much on the park apart from running a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Like Mark, there is going to be teams dropping points. Like, we're not a fan of the way Malky Mackay plays, you know, but you know, we dug in and we got the 3 points, and that's all that matters. Like, it's a hard ground to go at.
Just, Paul, these teams that can't put in their own box, but that's what we struggled with, Paul, for years, with breaking them down under Lennon, even under Rodgers towards the end. These teams that play with 11 men behind the ball and just can't put. And we spoke about it even against Aberdeen last week. I was surprised that was Aberdeen Celtic. But that's why we bring in players like Jota in that, Paul.
Yeah,
these players have got that space. That's why I used to say we need somebody with a bit of magic to break these defences down, and that's what we've got.
That's the thing, because last season under Ange at the Dingwell, it was 97 minutes it took at the Madison. We struggled at Livingston. We struggled at these teams, Mark, who sat back. But at the start of last season, of January, continuing on to this season, we're seeing Ange's system working, breaking down these teams. Is that down to the individual magic of Jota, O'Reilly, Abada, players like you said, who can produce that bit of magic and change the game?
Well, it's partly that, Paul, and it's partly the pressing and the energy that we've got in the team as well. If we're always pressing a team for 90 minutes, they're liable to make mistakes. They're getting a bit flustered. They're not getting flustered, Paul, when we're just passing the ball about the 18-yard line like we used to do under Lennon, hoping we could get a lucky break or a lucky pass. We've got players that are looking for stuff, trying to make it happen. So I think a lot of it does come down to the players' individual classes, we say, but a lot of it as well is down to the way that Angie's got the team playing. They're not sitting back waiting to see if they can find a break in this wall.
We would be passing the ball side to side, and we would do nothing with it. Do you get me?
No, that's what I mean.
Like,
under Lennon,
like it just seems attack.
That midfield was just all done, was pass that about side to side, looking to see if they could find an opening. Now we've got the players that are forcing it on them and making an opening or trying to make an opening. You know, it takes it to work once, Paul, and the game's won.
Because I remember, Terence, this same fixture last season, me and you were on the Discord page, and fair enough, Celtic fans were happy with the 97th minute win, but me and you were saying, lads, we need to look at the bigger picture here. We're struggling to break down these teams, and that's a worry at the time when me and you were talking about. But yesterday, even when it was 1-1, I always thought Celtic, throughout the whole game, would break down this cross-county game. I had confidence that we'd win the game yesterday, even when it was still 1-1 at half-time.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Paul, and I remember that conversation. But the one thing I would say, and Mark did mention it there, is, and yourself, is if you look at even the started lineup, Paul, in that Ross County game, I remember it was young Moffat actually got the ball and passed it to McGregor, and he passed it to Rosbish, who crossed it. Like, we didn't have some of the quality that we have now.
Yeah.
And the difference is whereas before, back then, like you said, there was a lot of side passing. In a lot of the games now, the first thought is get the ball forward. The first thought is to get the ball forward. And the huge thing for me as well is obviously it's a massive standard of fitness, but the movement off the ball, the running off the ball, even if someone doesn't get the ball, they're still they're running. They're trying to run into space. They're trying to drag them in with him. They're trying to open up space for other guys. Like the work rate through the side, and as you said, you add to that the quality of O'Reilly, of Bada, of Jota now, even your Kyogos. You know, I mean, you've added so much more quality than the match that in this game say 12 months ago, and it's seen and it's great. It's brilliant for us at the minute in Celtic fans and watching that. And I agree with you, Paul. You would always think now, whereas 12 months ago you might be going, oh no. Whereas you're always thinking Celtic are going to get
Where's
a
the
chance.
goal? Yeah, exactly. Where's the goal going to come
This team are
from?
too good. They're going to get a chance. They're going to get a chance. And the more Celtic win games like that time, and the Abada one against Dundee United, the Jackie Mackis one against Dundee at home, you know that there's the quality there, that they'll keep going. If it is the 91st minute or the 89th minute or the 92nd minute, that they're likely to get a chance and they're likely to score. Whereas that wouldn't have happened in previous reigns.
I was watching a bit Celtic related and not Celtic related here now, right? I was watching the Manchester United game there today, and the way we scream about Joe Hart, yeah, but the Joe we scream at the way our defence play out the ball, and we're always screaming for Joe Hart to boot the ball sometimes, and I could see why today Ange doesn't want that when I watch David De Gea, another goalkeeper, Mark, who isn't good, and he's a brilliant shot stopper, David De Gea, but he's not good with his feet. And the ball was passed back to him.
I'll tell you now, Paul, I wouldn't swap Joe Hart for David De Gea.
Not at all.
I mean, that lad's career just took a severe nosedive. It really has. Excuse me, for years, Paul, he was the best goalkeeper in the world.
Definitely. He's not kind of getting the squad now, Mark. So, but what I was saying was that he was under no pressure. Harry McGregor was on one side of him, and the new centre back was on. Martinez was on the left. Now, I myself, if I saw Harry McGregor free, I'd probably still boost it up the pitch rather than giving it to Harry McGregor. Anyway, do you know what I mean? But
he's horrific.
But there was two players. They wanted on top of the two centre halves, right? David De Gea took his upon himself to boot the ball forward, right? McTominay gets it. McTominay loses it. And Brighton go on to score their first goal, and like people were blaming McTominay for it, the Manchester United fans, and I was looking on. Well, it wasn't really McTominay, because this isn't the way Ten Hag wants Manchester United to play. He wants them to be ball players, something similar that we want. Ange wants Celtic, to get me. He wants them to play, and I could see his frustration towards David De Gea. That why did he boot that ball up and give the opposition the chance to get it? Do you get me? And that's why I think managers now,
it's all possession, isn't it?
they're giving away the opposition, Mark. Yeah, there's a 50-50 chance you win it. There's a 50, and man just don't want that miss. They'd be forced to have the
as we said the other night, Paul, but right, it's all coming out, but the next generation of goalkeepers will be the goalkeepers that these managers are looking for the new. You're not going to teach David De Gea how to be good with the ball at his feet, or Joe Hart, you know what I mean?
That's why I think, Mark,
it's
if
weird that
Hart stays at Manchester United, David De Gea will be replaced.
Oh, 100%.
Not because of his ability to save goals, just on Mark, he's not able to play.
That sweeper keeper, aye.
Not able to play it.
I mean, there's not many players about that can do it, Paul. And again, well, this will be a bit of contradiction considering when Man United did sign De Gea, but I think he was a bit of a special case. It's going to be a young guy, like your wee man Toby, kind of. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a young, and our Man United. But I can't think of a young goalkeeper out there that knows at the level of De Gea that can play with this modern game. Can you?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Who?
Terence Orr, international goalkeeper, Benazou.
Oh, he's very good. He's very good.
This fella
is
21. He recently signed for Southampton. He came through the Manchester City ranks. He was training with Edison since he was a young lad. All right? And his ball control. I've seen this fella, Mark, nutmeg Ronaldo in goal for Ireland against Portugal, nutmeg Ronaldo, and still have the confidence to push the ball out forward. If you get a chance to look at this fella Benazou, he signed for 20. Is it 20 Terence? It's only
About
2021.
20 or 22, yeah, something like
Yeah,
that, yeah.
Are you just
and,
signed
and
for
he signed for
Southampton?
Southampton for 18 million.
Right.
Now this fella, Mark,
He's
like,
good
Yeah,
player,
but
Mark.
that's what I mean. But they're few and far between.
no, they are.
You
Yeah,
can't just
there's
go
a
out
big,
and
there's a
pick
big gap.
Aye.
There's a big gap like
But
David,
Mikey's saying, I know, I agree with that. That Henderson, he's a good goalkeeper, and they've Man United let him go to Nottingham Forest.
because he supposedly, Mark, was leaking too much information out to the press, and that's the reason why he was let go. That he was how would you
Right.
call it, a kind of a troublemaker in the dressing room, constantly going, like we saw with Julian last
Kinda-
season, going to the press why he isn't playing. They
Kind
broke
of
promises.
kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know,
Moving on then.
yeah, moving on.
Well, see, all Irish keepers are the best in the world.
Definitely, man. Look at my man. Look at Packy Bonner. No one's going to
Packy
beat
Bonner, yeah.
Packy Bonner came back for the World Cup in Italy 90, I'm sure it was. Packy Bonner came back for there, Italy 90, or it was at USA 94, and he was the best. He was the best goalkeeper in the world, bar maybe Peter Schmeichel at the time. Honestly,
Packy Bonner, Mark. Like I still remember sitting down watching RTE Terence, and I can still remember Jimmy Hampton's commentary, Tomofty against Bonner. And he's screaming down the thing with Packy Bonner saying he was a god, Mark. That generation, that was the best Irish team I watched. That was the best World Cup I ever watched. Actually, was Italian 90.
He had hands like shovels. They were massive. I actually met him one day. I met him one day in one of the golf courses down here. There was a thing on, and I was talking to him. My God, his hands were even massive, like.
You never thought to get his autograph from me after the podcast for years. My idol.
Yeah, some keeper there.
Moving on, the 3 p.m. blackouts for live football to be broadcast in the UK on Saturdays. Celtic fans and other fans of football clubs have become very frustrated that there's no live football to be broadcasted on a Saturday afternoon between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. We can go back to as early as the 1960s when Burnley chairman Bob Lord successfully convinced the Federal League chairmans that televised matches on Saturdays afternoons would have a negative impact on attendance in the lower leagues. His views at the time was that if Liverpool, Manchester United or Chelsea or Spurs were live on TV at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, supporters wouldn't go down to attend the lower league games. Only recently the FA Cup is now is able to show one game on a 3 p.m. slot on a Saturday. Look, we saw it yesterday with Celtic TV. It broke down, Mark. I think it's time for this rule to be stopped.
There's a thing, Paul, and I see
it's only in UK. It's not broadcast anyway. UK is the only place to do it now.
But I see guys on like the English forums, Paul, and that, like, well, Nottingham Forest, they're promoting it now, but they used to talk about like the BBC red button, and the way they spoke, it looked to me, Paul, it was as if they could watch games live through this BBC red button on like the Championship kind of level down in England.
Yeah, the lower leagues, they probably get the main kind of. I don't know if they could get the main. I think it was kind of. Do you know, Mark? It would flip between all the different games. Do you get me?
No, but the way they're talking, it's like you go. They kept calling it the BBC red button. It was like you get a choice of matches to watch. That's what that sounded like to me.
But not the Premier League.
No, aye. But what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that Championship's getting bigger crowds than our league. I don't mean like us at like Celtic or Rangers stadiums as such, but I'm talking about overall. There's more crowds going there.
Well, I'm looking at it now, Mark. Like, and you're looking at me say, if you're down in League Two down in England, and if Manchester United and Liverpool are playing on a Saturday at 3 p.m, it's live in Sky Sports. The generation of football now are loyal to their clubs no matter what club they're in or what league they're in. they're going to support the club that they support. Like I know they might be Manchester United or Liverpool fans as well because they're above them, but they go out to attend their local clubs match. I think would they?
Try to drag a 7 or 8 year old kid along with you, Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, they're Man United and Liverpool on the telly. One will get ready and get down to Burnley. No, but anybody don't ever get near Burnley. It's a horrible place. But it's like Paul. It's like see if it's pouring a rain, and there's a Celtic game on the telly. That'll affect like Aki's crowds. Do you get what I mean? Because people sit in the house to watch a Celtic game. Even maybe guys that usually go to Aki's Park will be like, oh look at that, it's pouring a rain today and Celtic games on. Maybe even they'll be like, oh the Rangers games on, I could just sit in and watch that. They're going to maybe do that, do you know what I mean? You can see, you've got to see it from both sides of the coin.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but do you think so? That
but there should still be
affect the lower leagues, would it?
What?
Would it still affect the lower leagues if we say Celtic were playing at 3 p.m. on a thing like not even just that, Mark, but the deal that Sky Sports have, Mark, the deal we have with Sky Sports is that in the UK and Ireland we can subscribe to Celtic TV to watch. I think that's going a bit too far, isn't it?
But that's getting back to what I was saying the other week in the forum, Paul. If Rangers can turn in and say, look, we're not taking part in this cinch sponsorship and that, why do Celtic say, well, we're not really want to take part in this TV deal then, we can sort our own out. Because the money, and people, clubs will need to do this, clubs will need to do that, it comes down to money. See the money Celtic would make for owning their own TV rights, they could probably subsidise Scottish football with that, plus see all the people, what about this, what about that. Sky's got cameras at every ground anyway, it's part of their deal. We just do what we do, the new and use the Sky cameras and just give Sky a bit more money as well. It would work out, and I don't see why Celtic just don't do that, just call their bluff, take us to court and see what happens.
I think that's what it is they're afraid of the, but like nothing's happening to the other side of the town there, Marco, over this the Sinich deal, like, so they're getting away with it. Do you know, what's your views on this, sorry?
I don't know, it's a bit stupid, to be honest. I mean, I would imagine if you're for argument's sake, if you're an Alaba fan or you're a Wafer fan or something like that, or even in the lower leagues in England, like, I would imagine if I was one of those diehard fans, I'd go to the game regardless whether Celtic were playing Aberdeen at 3 o'clock or Rangers were playing Motherwell at 3 o'clock, whatever. I go to my home team and I support my home team regardless of whether they were playing on the television. Yeah, I can understand Mark's point with raining and all that. If I might stay in and look at that, but there's a million and one other sports that are going to be on at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the day anyway. So if someone decided, for argument's sake, the Hamilton ground, like Mark was saying, it's pissing out of the heavens, I don't want to get drowned. I'm not sure I'm going to go. Like, you could turn around and go, well, you know what, I'm going to sit down now, for argument's sake, and watch. There's the golf is on. I'll watch the Spanish Open, or there's a rugby match on. I'll watch the rugby match if you're into whatever rugby, or you're into whatever. There's a million and one other sports that are going to be on.
Horse racing. I mean, how many horse races? They've got horse racing's on 24/7. Into throughout the world.
Oh, it's on every day.
You can get it for Asia, America, or Australia. You get it for the world now.
I just put it to this point, right? That for the Celtic fans, Mark, who are waiting to get their season tickets, we said they've been on the list for so many years. They want to get Celtic Park. They can't get tickets because it's a sellout. They can't think. They can't buy the Celtic subscription because they can't watch in the UK and Ireland. I mean, like that's the way I'm thinking of it. Is that these supporters like myself who don't go to Celtic Park and stuff like that. That's me that's missing out. Do you get me? I'm missing out watching the game. Do you get me?
Let's look at it even the bigger picture, Paul. The money that's done in England.
Yeah.
But down in England, why do these English teams no challenging this as well?
Mm-hmm.
You'd think the Premier League would be wanting their games. Do you get what I mean? You'd think the Premier League clubs would be wanting every game that they can It's what I'm saying about this kind of BBC thing. You think they can in America?
It
They can pick what game they want to watch, no matter what. See if it's all 3 o'clock kickoffs and that. The American editors, see, they can pick any game they want to watch.
I don't know what team
any
it was.
3 o'clock kickoff, and they
It
can
was,
watch it.
It was a couple of years back. It was a Premier League manager. He questioned it. It was one of the foreign chairmans. Anyway, it was one of them. It wasn't one of the English chairmen. It was a foreign. He questioned it, and Sky Sports at the time said, "Well, we could have 6 matches live on 3 p.m. and we don't have the channels to support that." And basically, the fella came back to him. Well, he says, "You don't have to be. Formula One isn't on every day. You don't have to have Sky Sports 4 showing replays. You can slot these games into those slots." Like he said, "Don't tell me you don't have the chance to do this when you do have the chance to do this." Do you get me? With all the interactive, like you said there, Mark, the interactive red button. Now you should be left to click on and select the game that you wanted to watch. Do you get me?
But the English guns are selling out and they're packing out to the seat, well, apart from Man City's. But mate, I mean, even with tourist tickets, they're selling out every week. So there's no reason why these big teams shouldn't be pushing it. I mean, obviously we're picking up the dregs here if the law changed, but it would be good to see the bigger teams down in England having a look at this kind of thing.
Exactly.
Sorry, Paul. I'm just going to say the funny thing about it is if you look at the Sky setup for the Champions League, they say on screen 1 is this, on screen 2 is that match, on screen 2 is that, on screen 4 is the fight. And you could choose the particular match you want to watch.
That's what I'm saying,
So there's absolutely no difference in doing that and doing a Premier League game. And as you said there, Mark, you were saying how powerful the Premier League is and Sky and all that. You'd imagine, because you mentioned America there. I remember the famous line is they say the NFL in America is so powerful. They said years ago the church used to on Sundays. Now it's the NFL.
Aye.
They basically dictate American football's on every Sunday, regardless, and it's on at this time. End of discussion.
I know that tells even for watching The Simpsons. It's always in The Simpsons. Homer's bothering about whether it's church or the football for him.
Because Mark, you go now, right? I saw. Sorry, Terence, go on.
No, it's just keep going to what Mark was saying. Like, if you can do that for a Champions League game, we can show 8 matches and you can pick the match. There's absolutely no difference. And like what you said, Paul, you have Sky Mix, you have Sky Arena, you have Sky Premier, you have Sky Football. There's tons of channels there. They don't all have, as you said, a lot of times they might have repeats, or they might, God forbid us, they have netball or something like that. Jesus, Mary Joseph, but they have netball or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who wants to watch that? Like,
it was only last week or the week before, Doncaster came out, and he said this year they're going to be clamping down on illegal streams with the help of Sky Sports. And I was looking at him going like, but no wonder people are turning to these illegal streams. 1 is because of the pricing. 2 is that Sky Sports don't show half the matches we want to watch of Celtic. And 3 then is marked as the 3 p.m. kickoff when there's no live football there. No wonder people are turning to these illegal streams to get the football we want to watch.
Well, that's the thing, Paul. I mean, I would honestly, see if I could pay something legitly to watch Celtic games, I would get the money for somewhere to pay it. Do you get what I mean? But there's no way you can do it. That's the thing. I think they're more talking about cracking down on like the pubs and all that are doing it, Paul. Yeah. I think that's more the thing. But it's still, I mean, it was like, see, during the COVID with the season ticket thing and that, why can guys like me that's kind of maybe a bit housebound or that, whatever, no buy a season ticket that I can just sit and watch
that's
Celtic
saying,
games?
like
do you get what I mean?
You can't have that option, Mark, because it's not going to be broadcast in the UK and Ireland again. Do you get me?
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is something that needs to be looked at. Because what is it they call these kind of things? Turns it's like an open market, isn't it? Any other kind of sports, an open market, you do what you need to do to make your most money into it.
Like, it's true what Michael said here, Terence, just 1 minute there. The fact that we're in 2012 and we can't watch a team we support when we're unable to make the game is diabolical. Like, it is like, it's really. And what's happening, Mark, across football is the broadcasting companies that are controlling the game. They're controlling the time. They're controlling everything. that there is about football at the moment.
It's just because the money they're putting into it, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what it is, yeah.
Something does need to be done. Like it's like you said, Paul. Me and you say for argument's sake are in Ireland.
Yeah.
If a Celtic match is on at 3 o'clock and we can't watch it, you know, I mean, like Marcus said there, if there was a way of doing it, you know, legitimately, so to speak, and not having to pay an arm and a leg so to do it, you'd do it. You'd pay the subscription and you'd know, yeah, I can go into channel 210 and I can watch the Celtic game versus Ross County game or Celtic away to Aberdeen or whatever.
Exactly.
But the other side of it as well, though, Paul, is like they're saying that they don't want matches on between these times for X, Y, and Z. Like they're hammering people because eventually when matches do come on, like last year in particular, they weren't showing a Celtic. There was Celtic were playing and Rangers were playing one week, and they
showed a League Cup game, a League Cup game, yeah.
But then they're asking whichever set of fans to pay 17 or 18 euros to watch the one game. Like
I'll say this as well, by the way.
They're not thinking of that, like.
If BT were still running our thing, that would have been this game would have been on the telly yesterday. Because Sky used to have the same system.
They would have switched the time.
Aye,
on Saturday
that's
afternoon.
exactly. It would have been a
12
kickoff, or it'd have been moved to the Sunday or something like that. But I mean, that was the way Sky used to do it, and BT done it. If Celtic were away, it was on the telly. If Rangers were away, it was on the telly. So it kind of went from week to week. Sometimes there was two games on in a week, but it evened itself out. Any of the two Glasgow teams that were away, that was the big kind of Scottish game that they showed. And Sky's just coming in and that changing the kick-off of last week's game and things like that. It's just the Sky don't really care. All they care about is the derby games, and apart from that, they just really don't care about Scottish football. One of the biggest mistakes we've made, apart from not getting into the reserve league again, Paul, but was ditching BT for Sky.
Definitely.
Even if it was for more money, I don't care. The actual product was a million times better than any Sky put out.
Teams like Celtic with a fan base means that the logic of no 3 p.m. TV goes out the window. They won't be local games. They will be watching illegal streams. That's
what I'm saying, Paul.
Yeah.
See, honestly, right. You go to Terence mentioned a few weird teams in Scotland, but see, really, most of these weird teams, Paul, you go to them, and it is what people joke about, Paul. The majority of them, their big team is Celtic or Rangers. There'll be a wee pocket of these kind of wee hardcore fans that have grew up, and that's their team. They don't care about Celtic, Rangers or whatever, but a lot of the fans are there because it's nearer their house, it's cheaper, they can take the kids down and it's cheaper. That they're down there watching the local team because it's cheaper than going to Celtic at Celtic Park or Ibrox. So if Celtic are on the telly, they're in the house watching the telly, Paul. It's just the way it is in Scotland, really, bud.
No,
but there's not going to be surely Mark, a dramatic change where all of a sudden one or two of those lonely teams down at the end, because Celtic or Rangers are not live on TV, that all of a sudden they're going to get an extra 2,000 people at a game, an extra 500 people at a game. So if they get an extra 10 people at a game, I'd be surprised. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to any of those sides, but I don't see the logic in what they were trying to say, that it can get people to go to the local sides. I just don't think it will. You might get a tiny.
There were two reasons. Dude, I remember going down to Turners Cross watching Cork City with my dad on a Sunday. Watching Cork City play the kickoffs used to be 12 o'clock, and then you might get a 2 o'clock kickoff, but it was never 3 o'clock or it was never 4 o'clock. Do you get me? Because at the time there was only one match on a Sunday, Mark. It was the Super Sunday game. There was only show one match, and that was it on a Sunday.
4 o'clock kickoff.
Game, the local teams then used to start maybe 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, but it was never at the 3 p.m. slot. And there was two reasons why we changed to a summer league at the time. Was one, because the weather wasn't viable for leagues. We didn't have the facilities to put in underground heating or stuff like that. The pitches used to be getting ripped up. And the second one was because of the English Premier League being broadcast on a Sunday. That was it, that the attendance wouldn't come out if as what we're talking about.
Aye.
If Manchester and Liverpool were on the telly,
Aye.
I think it's one Friday night football now. Here in League of Ireland, Cork City, like for a small crowd, Market Speak, like we're getting about 3,500 fans every Friday.
See, that's how I get into German football, Paul. See, when I don't even think it was years ago. I don't even think it was Sky
Still
that
there,
had
too
it.
dirty.
I think it was BSB, the wee square aerial boxes. I think it was them that done it first, and it was Friday nights that German football was on. That's what I used to sit and watch. So I mean, I know what you're saying. It just people are always going to, if it's like a big game, a big event or something like that, they're all going to be around the telly. I mean, imagine they played a Glasgow Derby game at a 3 p.m. kick-off on a Saturday and showed it live on the telly. What would the attendances be at other Scottish grounds?
Well, definitely, Mark, but fair enough.
I mean, even when we're playing them when it's a 12:30 kick-off,
Well, I can understand that.
You can't get moving at Chapel at Virgil on Saturday night because everybody...
I can understand that, Mark, but the thing that really gets me is that we don't have the option to buy Celtic TV to watch the 3 p.m. kick-off. That should be left. Like, we should be... If I want to buy Celtic TV...
I get what you mean. There's a difference between if you're buying something to go and watch it or whether it's on Sky.
If you buy here, if you look into it was just audio. I was only subscribed for audio, that I couldn't watch Celtic matches in Ireland and the United Kingdom.
But see, know what I think's wrong about that, even Paul. You can maybe understand it a bit in the UK, but here in Ireland, it's not as if. Do you know what I mean? It's a different country to Scotland.
Exactly.
So why is Ireland dragged into that rather instead of the Americans? Why is the Americans allowed to watch it, but the Irish aren't?
Exactly. Like I can go off to Poland, Mark, and I can subscribe off to Poland to it. Do you know what I mean? If I go off to Poland and if I log into Sky TV, if they see then that my IP address is from Poland, straight away I can log in. But the minute I step onto that plate and I change IPG, it's scrambled. Even though I set it up over in Poland, do you get me?
Aye. See the thing about it, they put some amount of money into it, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean...
But it doesn't make sense that it's only football. Like, there's all the other games, there's tons of other games on at 3 o'clock. Like, as I said, I could sit down and I could watch the rugby, New Zealand, South Africa yesterday, and that was on it, I think, around 4 o'clock. There was golf on all day. Like you said, Mark, there's horse racing on all day. There's a ton of different sports on. So the notion of kind of calling that, people might just say, like, if it is raining or anything, like I keep repeating, I'm not going to go out and I'll watch this match. I'll watch the golf, or I'll watch the tennis, or I'll watch the horse racing for 2 hours, and I'll watch the match at 5:15 or 5:30. So it doesn't mean people are going to go down to the lower league games just to watch them, just because they're being stopped from watching whether it be the Celtic or Rangers or the Premier League games or whatever. It's
not going to make people go, Terence, but it's going to stop people from going.
Well,
people will turn to different sports.
On the Celtic side of it, Mark, really what Celtic need to do is they want to fix up that Celtic TV. For that to crash yesterday at 57 minutes was ridiculous.
I mean,
did the same run there for about 20 minutes. He must have been wrecked over it.
But they're exactly what we're saying, but Paul, they're putting all this money into stopping guys like us watching Celtic, but they can't actually have a good quality service, and plus Jerry McCulloch's on it. I hate Jerry McCulloch, man.
Pride or something, is it?
Aye. I hate him.
Mentioned a few times to be fair, though.
Oh, used to be on Clyde. He was a wee kind of the presenter, kind of meant to be the middleman. He never had a good word to say about Celtic. We smarmy sod.
Sorry there, Mark. No, sorry, there's my blog. Oh, sorry, it was just 2017. Sorry about that picture. I thought you were...
Oh, just having a... I said I need a note off his wife for his mum because he was late in. No, it's sorry, he's just having a bit of banter there. I look at that myself, I know I'm like, oh God.
Like the local debt notice, reading up the debt notice on the night traffic. There's a TV station, Mark, still didn't it? Turns down in Kerry.
They're Sean put in what I was talking about, Paul. You can watch I Follow down here, Championship 1 and 2 League, me and the grandson watch Northampton, it hasn't affected the home crowds. But that's what I mean, you can watch any of these games for the lower leagues just on that wee like I button thing he's talking about down in England.
Wow, never knew that.
Aye, that's, I mean, why were Terence to say that Sky do it? Do you know what I mean? Things like that, what Champions League games you want to watch, so there they can pick
Exactly,
what
yeah,
Championship game you want to watch.
Like the technology's there, Mark. Do you get me? You know,
I
technology.
mean, that's a BBC. I mean, that's a free service. Well, to get the licence fee, but you know what I mean?
Couldn't be teletext back in the day, so we couldn't just to get the results. One thing was it, and you're waiting then for, is it speed like BBC? One of the first people, Mark, to bring out the. It was the Sky Sports Soccer Saturday. Now it was the BBC first did that one. They used to come on the last 20
Match
minutes
of the day,
of the
wasn't
game. Yeah.
No, they used to put there's a results service on. There
Yeah.
used to be a programme called Grandstand on BBC
Grandstand, yeah.
And
Grandstand.
then
There's
on,
Lionel.
on ITV there was one called World of Sport with Dickie Davis. You used to get the wrestling at 4 o'clock on that. Just before the final just before the final results came in.
One
Kent
watcher.
Kent Walton and that. They were the
One
days.
watcher, Mark.
But that's Sky, I mean that's that. I don't. Is that Soccer Saturday thing still going?
Yeah,
I've actually
yeah.
started watching that Soccer AM again, by the way, as well. But Jeff Stelling's not on it anymore. You know, he left because he got rid of the old guard, wasn't it? But that's, I mean, that's it. That's just. I mean, that that's just guys like us just sitting watching. They're sitting watching dodgy streams.
Exactly. So how they watching it, Mark? Exactly. If it's not being broadcast live, so how they watching it?
But that's what I mean. Sky has got all these cameras at all the grounds anyway. That's where the highlights, even probably the BBC buy the highlights off of Sky, or vice versa. Do you know what I mean? It's just whoever's got cameras up there, we use them and we sell the rights, balancing it out of the season and stuff like that. So the cameras are at all these grounds, so it's no reason for it not to happen.
It's like Mark, if you listen, guys, that Sean has just made the point there as you read out. It's not affecting.
Kevin, with the note there, just that Kevin Gallagher, fuck the BBC, I'd rather get it in CFAX regards to the results. Kev, CFAX was the BBC, mate. That wasn't CFAX, was the BBC.
I was just thinking.
I couldn't, sorry, but thanks for coming in, mate, but I couldn't no pop that.
I was thinking that, Mark, was that the actual BBC thing that I used to look up was CFAX. It used to be in the green or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Aye.
That was it, yeah.
I can't mind what the ITV one was called, but CFAX was definitely the BBC one. But brilliant, thanks for joining us, Kev, mate.
Moving on, Mark put up a tweet there on Twitter only this week about alcohol and gambling advertising around grounds on match days, short sponsors on clubs. You asked the question, should it be banned? I know they can't do it in European European games. They can't have alcohol or gambling on the jerseys. That's why Celtic have the Celtic Foundation on our jerseys.
Certain countries don't allow it, Paul, but there's other countries that do.
In Ireland, or since last year, the 12th of last year, it's now legal to advertise.
Cheers for joining us, Brian Bud. Catch you later on, mate. Enjoy your work.
In Ireland, it's illegal to advertise alcohol and gambling in sports arenas. Senior clubs can still get sponsored by alcohol and betting services, but anything to do underage here in Ireland, it's illegal. I don't know, is it illegal still? Is it underage, Mark, in Scotland, or the way like Celtic now, we say under 19s, would they be sponsored by Daft Bet on their jerseys, or is it the Celtic Foundation, do you know?
I've not even noticed who their sponsor is, Paul, to be honest, this season.
You have to have a look at that.
Aye, but I don't. It's like, well, you can buy strips. Most of the young strips you buy now haven't got sponsor on it, Paul. So I don't think, I can't see them letting the youth players promote that. But we need to check that out.
It's your tweet, Mark. So we'll start.
I've said it before, Paul. I think it just gives you the wrong impression, Paul. They used to advertise cigarettes on F1 cars and at darts and stuff like that, and stop doing it. And it's just people with drink problems, gambling problems. They shouldn't be getting it driven down your throat, Paul. How many rants even when I go on about like all the guys that sit glued to Sky Sports watching every wee Rumours storyline and that, I've explained how that is all today with getting you betting. It's all to get money out of your pocket. When did they start giving you odds on who a player was going to sign for, Paul, or what manager was going to be? Do you get what I mean? Used to, when you get a coupon in the football, Paul, it was a 1, 2 or an X, and then you started getting score predictors and all this. And now they just get that much in the gambling world. Has got that much a hold in football. They know it's a dangerous place for it to be. It really is.
You even have the live game betting now, that you can change your bets throughout the game. You can cash out throughout the game to get your winnings.
Aye.
I mean, it's really.
Welshie's saying it's not on the kids strip. We're talking about youth teams, Welshie, but I know it's not on the kids.
But it's growing, isn't it?
It's just encouraging people. If you think, I get a free £20 bet off a Dafa bet, and I'm helping them that sponsor Celtic. It goes back to, see when Celtic and Rangers were getting sponsored by Carlin. Everybody, I was in pubs in and out of different pubs in that, Paul, at the time, and everybody was drinking Carlin. I don't know if pubs still sell as much Carlin, but at one point in Scotland, that was the drink, because it was blazoned our both Celtic and Rangers tops. And it was garbage, it was horrible, it was stinking, it was worse than tenants when we had that, and we were all forced to drink that. But it just shows you how it does influence you. Do you know what? Because they are sponsoring Celtic, everybody was drinking Carlin, or gambling. Dafa bet will gamble with them, and it's a deeper problem of alcohol and gambling. Probably same as smoking became a problem. And, I mean, you wouldn't advertising smack or something like that on the front of a football talk. Do you know what I mean? There are people getting into serious problems all over the place through drinking and through gambling, and I don't think Celtic should be taking any part in it. And I think it's getting to a level in football that needs to become a bit like the smoking kind of side to it, Paul. We can't football in general, shouldn't it?
If you look at the football side of it now, right, and their talk is the revenue. You know, that it's the revenue they get from these big contracts, Mark, because these are big industries. The likes of tenants, as you said, there are Carling, we have Budweiser, Daft Bet, all these big gambling sites.
Multi-million pound companies, aye. But there's other multi-million pound companies out there.
That's what I'm saying. But would they get the same revenue that these sponsorships are giving them if these things were legal? Well, I'm agreeing totally what you're saying, but I'm just putting a different context on it here.
I mean, is it worth it, Paul, for an extra £1 million or somebody else? And if you're performing at a top level, Paul, you'll get sponsorships. What's up with asking Adidas to sponsor the front of our jersey for an extra couple of £1 million? Do you get what I mean? Or looking at other kind of...
Can they actually do that?
Even go to a soft drinks company then or something, a soft drinks company.
I don't think you can be sponsored by your kit maker and have that on your jersey.
Well, we've done it with Umbro.
We did actually. Umbro, our sponsor.
And we'd the big massive Umbro badge in the front.
Yes, we did. And we had the bumblebee with the Umbro as well at that time.
Well, see when we all bought the same Windies for C.R. Smith. You'll not mind that, do you, Paul?
Oh, I do, yes.
Both us and Dean were sponsored with C.R. Smith.
There's a jersey I want, and it was part of the C.R. Smith brand, and it was the yellow one, but it used to have the green kind of stripes. Do you remember that one?
Aye.
That was without doubt my favourite Celtic jersey ever. That jersey.
Kind of limey green colour, like a chocolate lime sweeties.
And I just can't get it. You know? Terence, what's your take on this?
It's an awkward one, Paul, because the last time I remember we discussed it, I thought that were Celtic then going to reduce their field of who could sponsor them. But now thinking back of it, and the way obviously Mark is quite passionate about it and been talking about it, if it was a complete ban and you couldn't do it, I'd say yeah, and I could understand the reasons behind it, especially the gambling and the drink. I've known a couple of guys who are good friends of mine, and they got very bad in both sides of it, and it's horrific to watch. Like, it's just awful to watch. Like, because you can gamble everything you own in 5 minutes, and it's just terrible to watch when you see guys who are issues like that. So from that side of it, I totally can understand where Mark is coming from. But if it was a complete ban on it, I would say yeah. Then at least Celtic might be go down the field of other sponsors. But my only fear was if it was still legitimate and Celtic decided to go away from it, and I would applaud them if they did. Are they narrowing their field of who would their sponsorship field in a sense, and would it? I don't know, but maybe with the likes of JP McManus or Dermot Desmond and those guys, they've got such big power. They know so many people. Maybe they've got tons of people that probably could sponsor Celtic. So maybe there is a case of going away from the gambling side and the alcohol side of it. But it's a strange one. But I can understand where Mark is coming from it.
See, the drinking thing, Terence, it's just not even from a personal point of view. Believe me, nobody ever forced a drink down my throat. I just don't. It's because the amount of kids in that, they think, so they see the alcohol's. Do you get what I mean by that? They think,
oh, I do.
Because
yeah,
it's Celtic
yeah,
related. But the gambling for me is a bigger problem because I know the effect. I'm not much a gambler at all, so I've never had bother with that. But I know people that have as well, Terence, and it's just as bad as drink or drugs or anything. It really is for some of them.
I think it's worse, Mark.
It's because of the money that they're bringing into the game. I think it's like they've got a lot of maybe an undue power in the game, and yet you're kind of opening things up to match fixing and stuff like that. See, when you've got so many people at the top level of football mixing with these top level of gambling people and that, there's a lot of problems in the Middle East and places like that. They know with gambling, match fixing, and it's all to do with these gambling companies and that. And it's just something. I mean, gambling used to be like kind of a wee backstreet thing. Women never went into bookies, and even I don't think my mum's ever been in a bookies in her life. Do you know what I mean?
Never have, no, never.
Yeah.
Never
But see,
stepped into
you
a
see young lassies getting in and out the bookies to play these roulette machines and all these things and stuff like that, and it just seems to be it's something that's a serious problem in society, and it just seems as if I'm not saying Celtic, I'm saying sport in general seems to be
Mark,
promoting it.
Is that now, like, just what you're saying there, like, is that why there seems to be nothing happening to these gambling companies, is because they're bringing so much money into football, and is that why there still has been no action on it?
Just seems to be. I mean, well, see, to be honest with you, Paul, you're going up to. I've seen we were talking about it on the Discord and that, talking about sports washing and that the other night. But people going on about like this. Is it Qataris or Saudi Arabian family or that, whatever they bought Newcastle and all that kind of thing and that, but people have got to look at the ethics of these gambling companies and that as well. And that's what it is, the money that they've got. If you've got enough money, Paul, you can do anything you want.
Exactly.
Let's face it, if you've got enough money, you can do anything at all you want. We've seen it at Man City, we've seen it at PSG, we'll probably see it at Newcastle. So if you're involved in if you're part of this gambling circle that's involved in football, and you've got that kind of money, put that together with the money in the game of football, and there's a hell of a lot of power and a hell of a lot of money to be made in that.
Well, Paul, Kevin's... sorry, Terence, go on.
I was going to say as well, Mark, sorry, Paul, is if you look, Mark, at the advertising of it, if you look at the individuals, they've got like the likes, I might have their name wrong, so apologies, but you man, Ray Winston is off me on often, and they've got that lad that used to be on that Bawz selected thing or whatever it is, he's on that red, the 32.
Keith Lemon,
Yeah.
Even his TV show Celebrity just is sponsored by a gambling show.
Yeah.
So, but you've got big celebrity people there, and they're if you want to call it, they're the not I won't say figurehead, but they're basically advertising.
Yeah.
So they're advertising it. Do you know what I mean? And I know it says gamble, be careful, gamble, sensibly, and all that, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it. But you've still got big figures like your man's a movie guy. that other fella is well known as well, and they're there and they're promoting it like. So young guys are seeing that and probably thinking, you know, and then you've got things where you go, oh, if your horse doesn't finish, you get your money back and all. Do you know, there's all these kind of little quirks and nearly I won't say
Aye.
tricks, but things in it
And,
that can go. Oh, if I put on the 20 quid, I'll get it back anyway. So I'm not really losing anything. And you know, all of a sudden, 20
we've
quid
got
could be
guys.
200.
We've got guys on the forum like Tim Alloy and that can read all that and understand all the jargon in that terms. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you put it on with Sky and you'll get 6 places, you'll get a return kind of thing. But you imagine somebody just mug wee punters stoating in and seeing all this. Oh, if I do this, I'm getting this back, and I'm getting that back, and all this pattern that. It's just it becomes a kind of cycle. And even I mean, you can even look at the amount of bingo adverts and that are on the telly now. Do you know what I mean? Online poker, all that stuff. It's just gamble, money all the time.
You even look into bookies now, and like you've got virtual horse racing and virtual greyhound racing. Seriously, virtual. Like,
I mean that came
a
in.
video game.
I tell one. I mean when that came in, and I tell one of my wee pals that was into not a heavy gambler, but he liked to punt. And I said, Tim, here, don't get near that. I says that's it. Taste them. I says that's a computer game. I says they work that out and see how they're making money, and that's how they decide what horse is winning that. And that's all it is. It's all just that's just a computer program terms that's making them money. Right, what's the lowest payout? That's the winner. There's nothing random about it, but I hate calling them mug punters, but for me it is a bit muggish. Do you know what I mean? But these guys fall for it because they think it's an easy buck. And then they lose a bit, and then they're chasing it, and before they know it, they're in the hole.
It's awful to watch. Like it's awful to watch. If you've got a friend
I know.
like that, I know 1 or 2 lads, and my God, like it was right bad. Like I mean, these guys that would get paid on a Friday, and literally an hour later, their wages are gone, and they're going home to their missus telling them they've got no wages. Like,
aye, it was the other week.
Like,
The other week it was like the Glasgow Fair Friday week over here, and see every year it comes about, you read stories on Twitter and Facebook about reminiscing about their mum going down having to drag her dad out the pub on Fair Friday before he spent all his holiday pay and stuff like that. Because back in the days you were down in the pub and it was men, they were just drinking, and it used to be, I don't know what you called it, we called it, was it chipping or tossing or something like that, with the coins thing the old guys used to do out the pub. Aye, stuff like that, and even back then, and it's a kind of societal problem that we just seem to take things to the excess, and we don't need it rammed down our throat every time we're going to a football game. Hopefully we were kids in that, do you know what I mean?
But what about in the stadium, Mark? Like you were in Celtic Park the other day, during pre-season, watching the Blackburn game. Did you see any advertising in there, Mark, with alcohol betting inside the stadium that would encourage someone like you said who was recovering alcoholic or recovering? Did you see anything like that in the stadium that would entice him to go back gambling or drinking?
To be honest, Paul, but I was more concentrating and being able to get about, do you know what I mean? With my crutch, I was more concentrating on that to look about. But I mean, no doubt about it. I know when I did used to go to games, Paul, there was plenty gambling for you again. I mean, even before you went in the stadium, there'd be wee kiosks outside, and then you'd go in and there'd be like your half-time draw, and then there'd be another gambling kiosk up a bit and stuff like that. Do you know, it's not pushed on you, but if you want to gamble, it's there.
What about Kevin's post? We should use the Keenan Foundation for our sponsors and every strip support a good cause, Mark.
But I'd agree with that, but it's what you said, Paul, that would come down to money. Celtic we need to write off X amount of millions because of that.
Could we afford for a charity like Keenan? I'm not saying nothing bad about the Keenan Foundation, but they're a charity. Can we afford Celtic Football Club, Mark, who rely on revenue, Mark? Do you know what I mean? Like we don't have the billions like they do down south, Mark, and stuff like that. Like, can Celtic be sponsored by the Keenan Foundation?
I doubt it. I think as I say, Celtic need to take a hell of a dunt in the money side of things for it to happen, Paul. And even something like would the fans maybe help to, I mean, any way we could cover the cost of that advertising, even if the
Because
fans
like
all
that's
kind of
this
chipped
is
in,
what
but surely there's more,
this is what it comes down to, do you know what I mean? This is what
but surely there's, today, even if you're what, say like even, like, say we went to a drinks company, say instead of having, I don't know, tenants or
I put it to
whatever,
you this way, Matt,
surely
those
they've got a
fans
soft,
don't-
surely they've got a soft drink, Paul, we can wear a soft drink.
We've a new software. When Ange came in, Mark, he brought in this new data system that no, I think it was under Neil Lennon. It was under Neil Lennon, Mark. We brought it in that we could see this system that we brought in, that it would see when the players would be at risk of tiring, risk of injury. Do you remember that we brought in that system? I think it was under Neil Lennon we brought it.
Where did
Why
that
can't we
come
go to
from?
these Why can't we go to these software companies and who are involved
Oh,
with the
right,
club
aye.
and get them to sponsor the job?
Aye, something like that.
They're involved with the club anyway, or even
Something
the
a
data
bit like
systems that's-
something a bit healthy, kind of.
yeah, like I presume Gavin Strachan's system, Mark, is sponsored by a malware. Do you know what I mean? So why don't we have?
I think Welsh's looking after his cyber security.
Yeah, but like, why don't we have something like that sponsoring the club? Do you get me? So there is options there, but at the moment, the reason because they've money just to control the game. I think that's why clubs are going to the likes of betting services and drink. I think what Terence said earlier on, if there was an outright ban, then there's no option. We have to, but because there's no ban, Mark, the Celtic and any other football club, if they're going to get a better offer by Daft Bet rather than a softer company, we're going to go with Daft Bet. But that's just it at the moment, isn't it?
Is that to me or Terence?
Any one of you?
Oh no, just it's down to money. That's all it is. Aye.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kev's saying there, aye, it would be great. Do you know what I mean? To get some, like, just have the Kano Foundation or something like that. But there, I was just going to say that. I know. Imagine we could, because of the interest in in Japan in that phase. You know, imagine we could go and get like one of the Japanese companies to, like Mitsubishi or that. Do you know what I mean? To sponsor us. Which could be, I mean, that could be an option if things keep going the way they are. I mean, look at that TV deal in
Yokohama
Japan.
Tires, Mark. Yokohama Tires.
Anything like that. I mean, really, is that not who sponsors Chelsea?
Yokohama, yeah. Tires,
Aye.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
something
there's
like-
options there
I do
outside
agree, though.
football.
That's what I'm meaning in terms of, you're saying we're kind of cutting off our nose to spite our face, but I'm still, there's plenty of companies out there with the kind of money we're getting that aren't involved in drinking or gambling or whatever that surely would be interested in sponsoring Celtic.
Oh, without a doubt, and as I said, I went back to obviously the chairman and his connections and links to, like, obviously they're all billionaires, his friends, and they all have their own massive companies. They could certainly divert away from the gambling side, and they could certainly divert away from the alcohol and drink side of it, if they wanted to, and maybe push for, a sponsor. A sponsor
And go for an airline, ask an airline.
Yeah. Oh, listen.
Well,
Listen,
Ryanair.
Mark, you could
Ryanair,
kill,
get Ryanair, Aer Lingus.
they could kill two birds with one stone if they wanted to try to go down that and try to get a. There might be controversy here, but get a naming of the stadium and the jersey all as one a sponsor. Whether it's
Aye.
like France, it's like the way the Emirates were, the Emirates, and they had the Emirates on the jersey. That kind of system.
Aye.
It's obviously not alcoholic and it's not gambling.
I'd be quite happy for Celtic to get like a sponsorship for the stadium. It wouldn't bother me, but it was quite, apart from, as long as it wasn't something stupid, do you know what I mean? But it's just, again, it's just a sponsorship deal.
That's where all these chairmans down south, Mark, seem to be going. They sell the naming rights to like Perry said, the Emirates Stadium. The Spurs are looking to sell theirs now, aren't they? They're looking to sell their naming rights to the stadium just to bring in the revenue,
That's there. I think you're a bit struggling to repay their debt for the stadium a bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
But for me, I actually think it's a bit strange that it's a source of income at Celtic. I've never really heard any that have realistically looked into doing. But
I think, Mark,
for
does
me,
that
it was
then-
a bit common sense.
does that take, like, if I'm just looking at that, the way maybe Dermot Desmond might look at it. Does he look at that then as that it's not, if he sells the naming rights to the stadium, does it not look like Celtic is not privately owned anymore? Do you get me? Would he be looking at it that way?
No.
Like a
No, I think so, no.
like a consumption might own it then or something if he put it away?
No. I wouldn't think so, Paul. I mean, look at the stadiums about the world. Even Bayern Munich's called the is it Allianz or something you pronounce it?
Yeah, the Allianz
Do you know what I
Arena.
mean? If it's good enough for Bayern Munich, Paul, it's just a name that brings in money.
But like
These are clubs losing their heads.
Well, like the Aviva call is still Lansdowne Road to me.
Yeah, I still call it Lansdowne Road, yeah.
Yeah, so do I. It's called the Aviva. Is it the Aviva Stadium? But to me, it's always Lansdowne Road. Like even Thomond Park in Limerick, the rugby club, the rugby stadium. I have no idea, but it's not called. It's Toyota. I think it's Toyota Park or something.
Toyota
But
Park,
you
I
ask
think, yeah.
Yeah, you ask anyone in Limerick, or say in Musgrave Park in Cork. Musgrave Park is called something like that. But I know Musgrave Park in Cork for the rugby is Musgrave Park. I know Thomond Park is Thomond Park. I know Celtic Park is Celtic Park. I know the Lansdowne Road is Lansdowne Road. They can call it whatever they want. So it's not going to make any difference. All it's going to do, because Celtic are so limited on where they can get funds from, in regards to, we're saying, the jersey sponsorship. You know, that's why they have to try to get a big sponsor for the jersey, because they can't kind of go down that charity route, because we've only got season tickets and jersey really sponsorship. The television is so poor that the name and rights of a stadium would be a sensible one. But like I'm sure you'd be the same. You'd only ever know the Celtic Park or Parkhead. You know, you wouldn't know this, for argument's sake, Toyota Park or whatever they want to call it. Do you know what I mean?
do people call it now, Mark? Do the old generation still call it Parkhead, or is it no Celtic Park?
Parkhead or Celtic Park. It probably just depends what comes out your mouth at the time, Paul, to be honest. I call it either or, do you know what I mean? Although some people are a bit pedantic. They're Welshie with Parkers. Parkers, that's the worst thing ever. Into Welshie, going Celtic Park Parkers. That was young. I saw that starting on Twitter maybe last season, the season before, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? That's not acceptable.
They must be young people up after that.
Well, it was Paul.
They must be young people, were they?
It was Paul.
What?
What?
No, wasn't he? Mind we spoke about it, Paul. I sent you links to wee tweets saying this. Look at this, we're calling Celtic Park Parkers now.
You did, yeah.
Aye, made a good laugh at it at the time, man.
I asked you, where's that?
Aye.
I said, Mark sent me Parkers, and I said, where's Parkers in Scotland? And you were like, it's fucking Parkhead, you stupid. And I was like, so how am I supposed to know that? Like, you know what I mean? You know, Jesus.
It seems to be the young hipsters in that are starting to call it that. So that's how Welshie knows that. Welshie knows that.
Night on head down to Parkers. It sounds like we're going down for a drink down to this
Pair of Crocs on.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ, and their man buns. Hipsters.
I don't think you put on the road no man buns, to be fair. Like.
Celtic will travel to Robbie Park next Sunday to take on Kilmarnock. The stadium is an artificial surface. We saw Celtic Park struggle on artificial surfaces in previous years and managers, and I feel starting to get the grips with artificial surface, getting our first win on an artificial surface against Livingston last season. Former RD man Derek McGuinness is now manager of Kilmarnock. I'll be feeling confident going into this game next week, Terence, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, do you know what I mean? I'm sure Ange has never made an excuse about any pitch or anything like that.
But one thing I do say is that McGuinness loves a win against Celtic, don't he?
Not really, no.
He does, yeah.
He loves it, but he doesn't fucking get many of them.
He might love it, but he doesn't get too many of them.
That's what I'm saying, like, he'd love to, like...
I'd love to get the win, without a doubt.
Like, you look at the Aberdeen games, Mark, when he was in town, they were always tough games for Celtic under McGuinness. Do you know what I mean?
They lost them. But they lost them.
Mm-hmm. You know?
So, you know, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. I know he'd be mad for a win, but screw him, like. If Celtic play the way they can play, they have been playing, and keep the way they're going with moving and passing Look, Celtic have the far better, superior players than Kilmarnock. They should beat them, regardless of whether it's on that shitty astroturf grass or the main
I
road.
don't know much
They should
about
beat
this
them.
one though, but I was looking at it there today, and it actually looked like a more modern one, Mark, rather than Livingston's one. It looks more
It's better
moderate.
than it's better
Yeah.
than Livingston's, Paul, but it's still no ideal. The surface.
You know, like Livingston reminds me of an old hockey pitch. You know,
It's like 5-a-side pitches you used
Yeah.
to play on back in the day.
you know.
I'm with
They shouldn't be there anyway.
Terence. I know that's it as well, Terence. Should they be allowed in a top league anywhere in the
No.
world? Pitches in that condition.
I could
I'm with Terence.
understand. I could
If Terence
understand
himself-
Scandinavia. Right,
You can
because of the
aye,
snowfall
but
there,
Paul, it's
right?
got to be better quality.
Yes,
If you're going to have a
not-
plastic pitch, it's got to be good quality. That's the difference.
Like
What
I've got
you're
official
saying.
pitches here in Ireland terms that we play 5-a-side on, and they're better quality than what you're saying there in the professional league. So I mean, they have to be better than what they are.
Well, the other doubt, but Paul, the prime example I would have given it is, like you were saying about the Scandinavian club. When Celtic played Bodo Glimt and they showed that pitch on the television,
grass.
it looked like grass.
Grass.
It looked like it was grass. You know, you look at Kilmarnock's pitch or Livingston's pitch and you're thinking, he's
Doctor.
after nicking a bit of carpet. He's after nicking a bit of carpet from the room and putting it down there in patches. Like, it's brutal. Like, it's just like, and there's no excuse. The weather isn't that bad in Scotland that they need an all-weather pitch all year round. It just isn't. And there's
Not as bad as they ones are anyway.
Strange love.
Just a quick shout out. Thanks for
Killy
coming in, Strange Love.
Killy under McGuinness will be like travelling back in time to watch the football used to be played. 532 Strawberry hoof wrestle and dive. But that's what he's going to do. Like that's.
Talking about the refs and diving and wrestling and stuff like that. What about some of the tackles in that game yesterday?
Terence touched it there at the start there.
That came into my head. We never really get in yet. See the one in the build up to was it the first goal? Kyogo's goal. The tackle. I don't even know who it was on, but it was shocking. That was a straight red card any day of the week.
But will that change when VAR comes in? Is the question. Will these tackles?
No, that's not going to change, Paul, because you're not going to go and look at it.
Because
and you can't, let's face it, we're not wanting the game to be stopped and starting looking at every daft decision, but that was a shocking tackle.
England, Mark, right, that if there is a tackle that's not noticed by the referee, VAR will communicate to him, right, you need to take a look at this tackle here, right? Now, considering the problems we're having with referees in Scotland, or the likes of, we say, Don Robinson or Beeson, if they're going to be one in VAR, one on the pitch, are they going to pull the game back to look at this tackle if the referee didn't see it?
No,
that's the problem. I think that's not going to happen in Scotland.
But the other side of it, though, Paul, is with the greatest respect in the match yesterday, that tackle, and I saw it as well. I was watching it down in Kilkee, and I'm screaming at the phone. Like, how did the referee is 5 yards from it? Mm-hmm. How did he not see it? Is the question I'd be asking. You don't need VAR for that. The question I'd be asking is if there's an adjudicator in the stand adjudicating the rest, or checking the referee out and making sure and assessing him, an assessor. Surely the assessor's got to go to him. How did you think that's not a free? How do you think that's not a free? It's like he didn't even give a free call, let alone a card. Like he went, I think it was Greg Taylor. He came straight through the back of him.
Did you?
It was a problem tackle, like.
So did you say something to me the other day that it's not this season, maybe next season, that the Premier League are looking so you'll be able to hear the conversations between VAR and the referees?
I don't think it's for this year, Paul. I think it's for next year that we're talking about it. Aye. Means that people, the fans and or whatever, will be able to hear what they're talking about, which would be a good thing as well. But really, I'm still 50-50 with VAR. I don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing for us. Really, I don't. I just don't want to.
The only thing the mark is if it's used right. It has to be used right, the mark.
That's what I'm saying, Terence. As long I'm not wanting the game to be stopped and starting for every stupid wee decision, because that's what put me off watching the pub league. Every wee decision was getting started, and that. And I don't know, it's going to take a lot of time for VAR to get settled in Scotland, but I swear, I know for a fact, See, as soon as it comes in, we're going to be talking about it. Everything will be about VAR. If VAR should have seen this, VAR should have seen that. And see, even if the thing about, I've said this before, Paul, before even it was announced it was coming into Scotland. See, even with VAR, if VAR's just backing up the bullshit, but the other referee needs to come out and says, I checked with VAR and that backed me up. And there's nothing you can argue back with it, or you're going to start so, aye, but it's this and running. Do you get what I mean? It's just whether the referee's a mason or the guy working the VAR up in the galleys a mason. It's the same exact arguments that we've had in Scottish football for years. It's the same thing.
Just one thing there, when speaking of referees, what you think about this thing that popped up with Beaton lately, that he gave abusive behaviour to a player last, I forget the match, what match it was on, but I suppose he's getting pulled over. So anyway, that some player called him that Beaton gave him abusive behaviour after the match. Do you see that?
Who?
I think got it all right.
Near Beaton?
No, the
beating
referee.
Beaton.
Oh, right, cheating beating. Right,
Yeah.
right, oh,
Yeah.
right. No, I never seen that, Paul.
Yeah, that's I forget what match it is, Mark, but Beaton was supposed to give one of the SPL players abusive behaviour after a match, and the referee, the referee association are pulling him up on it. You know, there's former referees coming out against him and saying, like, you shouldn't be doing this, like, you should have a level head on the pitch, like, you shouldn't be getting involved.
No.
If a player goes on your back, like, you should be a neutral, but suppose he'd be getting pulled for it, you know.
Well, he refereed the derby match today.
No, it was a fan. Sorry, it was a fan. Sorry, it was a fan he gave abuse to after the match.
That's
Yeah.
a different story. That's a different story
Pedro just
altogether.
put it up there. It was actually a fan he gave abusive behaviour to. Like,
Oh,
Beaton should know better.
no, that's a different story altogether, that.
Yeah, you know, Beaton should know better. A
just
referee should know, not just Beaton, but a referee should know better. A referee's
shout-
going to get
we
abused
shout
anyway
out
in the
there
game, Mark.
We shout out there to Bance. Thanks for coming in, Bance. I was talking to him last night on another channel, Paul. Thanks for joining us, Bance.
Oh, I agree with you saying there they should be. Like, I think now, like, we're going on about technology with Sky and stuff like that, Mark. We should be able to hear what the
Aye,
referees
Paul,
and linesmen are saying.
But we were talking about what we were talking about earlier as well with match fixing. It would be good to hear what the referees were talking about when they were on their mics. Remember the Dundee United game when we get cheated?
You know, did you see
Well,
the
they
handball?
do it in the rugby, Mark, and it's very clear to hear in the rugby matches. You can hear it in the telly, and the referee's asking a specific question, and the TMO is in the corner of the telly, and he's talking back to him. You can hear the whole conversation, it's clear as day. So I don't know why the football need to be so cloak and dagger about it. I mean,
Can you hear that in the stadium's terms? Does it
Is
come
it-
out
yeah,
with tannoy or things like that?
No, but you'd certainly on the television, but they'd have it up. If you're at the stadium, they'd have it up on the big screen. Like you'd see it, you'd see the replay on the big screen. You see everything, and you'd like some lads would have you'd have the ear things in anyway.
Aye.
For the matches. And you can hear the whole. But what I'm saying is, it's live on the telly. The referee is asking a specific question. The TMO is there as well, and he's giving a specific answer. I don't see why there needs to be such a big cloak and dagger thing with the football.
Yes, like we're looking at.
The thing, because with the VAR thing, Mark, it's very simple. They should just come out and say VAR is going to be used for penalties and for if we believe there's serious foul play.
Aye,
And
that's what I think.
For serious foul play, it's an easy thing. All what they need to do is give the referee a directive. Like
Exactly.
I sorry to go back to the rugby, but if a fella gets hit in the head in rugby, the referee goes, okay, the question, okay, I need to stop play. He was hit in the head. Okay, was it dangerous play? Was it high? Was it with force? And there's three or four questions, and the man goes, yes, that's a red card. It's as simple as that, and that's all you need to ask in the football.
Exactly,
Was it dangerous? Was it reckless? Was it with force? And did he have no control of himself or something like that?
Look at, like, when I watched a bit of the rugby, you know, when the Six Nations and stuff like that on, and when the big it used to be called the Heineken Cup, I don't know what it's called now, but even their use of replays, Terence, it's done, as you said there, in a matter of minutes. It's not dragging out. It's the simple questions that are asked. Was it this? Was it that? Is it a sending off? Grand. go back to this minute. Was this player number 2 involved? You know what I mean? They're giving the facts, and they're looking at this specific, not what's going on, not what VAR used to do in England. VAR used to look at things 5 minutes beforehand. Do you get me?
That's what annoyed me,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah, that we had nothing to do with it. Do you get me? You
And
know?
the thing about it, Paul, is, again, with the difference between the rugby and the soccer is, the rugby you could have 10 fellas involved in a ruck, and they have to kind of suss it out. In the football, the likelihood is it's 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a bad tackle, one guy's made a bad tackle on another guy. So it should be very, very clear and easy to say.
With 20
Yes.
different camera angles, Terence looking at it, as you say, isn't it? There should be
And like if he goes over the ball, if he's like, regardless if it's a Celtic fan or on a Celtic player or against a Celtic player, and a guy goes over the ball and he catches him in the shin, the referee's looking at that. It's a red card. There doesn't need to be a big long discussion about it. And if they're looking at it, it's only that simple. Like,
I give you a page there, Nigel Lawrence. He was some referee, Terence, right, in the rugby. Nigel Lawrence, wasn't he?
Oh, he was fantastic.
He was fantastic. Brilliant referee.
But the players respected the referees. But there's a huge difference. If you're a rugby referee and you went up and you said something to him, he first of all said he'd go away, and then he'd march your team back 20 yards. You don't have that. It's a completely different, 2 different sports. Players would shout abuse and say whatever they wanted to the referees in football, and most times they're left away with it. So it's a different thing. But as regards the VAR, like, it's serious foul play and penalties. The rest of it, there's a reason that there's 2 linesmen there and a referee. If you want, like, if you're talking about doing all these offside things and all the rest of it, then get rid of the linesmen. You don't need them.
But the Champions League is starting a thing, and it's it's like technology.
An automatic offside.
Aye. So what's the point of linesmen then? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Which is going to help as well. If we bring something like that in up here with VAR or that, I think that would be a help. As I've said before, you can't be putting somebody offside for a toe. Do you get what I mean? The way they've been doing it with VAR, these lines that, oh, look at that, the tip his boot. So see even if you're a referee, right, and it's flagged up that could be offside, go and look at it and see if you can't see that with the human eye. If you were staring at it, that's what the kind of cut off should be for me. Do you know what I mean, Terence?
Yeah, just
if a player drops a head in another player or elbows somebody, if you were staring at that, you would see it. But if you were staring in real time at a guy running onto a ball, there's no way you would know if his boot was offside. So if the ref goes there, looks at the decision, and if he says to himself, I wouldn't have seen that even looking at it with the human eye live time, I can't get it. For me, that's the kind of fairest way you're doing it.
Without a doubt.
Like Welchie is saying there, like VAR's clear and obvious errors, it will be a stop-start. That's
my problem, Paul. Because they're discussing
every
stupid wee infringement. Even though, clear goals get scored, Paul, but they still need to go and check with VAR.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what about the fans sitting in the stadium? I mean, you can't really actually cheer for a goal because you don't know if it's a goal.
Buzz away from the ball in the celebration. Yeah, it does. It really does.
But what's stopping that, Mark, in regards to the goal, say, been scored? If there's a clear goal been scored, we just say for argument's sake. But what's stopping? There should be no reason that if the team celebrate, they go back to centre. The guy at the VAR can still have a quick look at it if he saw something that stood out. They don't need to stop playing.
A quick. I mean, how even during the goal celebration, gives that guy 20 seconds, 30 seconds to have a look back and see if there is anything that sticks out that even pings his attention.
Because that's what they do. The rugby terms, don't they? They wait for the ball to play. Yeah. The ball was on play.
Unless it's serious foul play, Paul. The person in VAR will be watching it, and they might contact the ref to say, "Look, you need to look at this. There's been a serious foul play, and it's normally a shoulder into the face or something." But the offside one that Mark you were talking about, again, Mark, if they bring in defined rules and basically go like that, it has to be clear and obvious offside, not, as you said, a toe, a finger, a tiny little bit of his head is leaning forward, like, because they've gone from changing it where they used to give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker. It's now going to benefit the doubt to the defender.
Definitely.
I personally think that VAR shouldn't be used for offside. I think it should
No,
be. There's a reason
no.
that there's two linesmen there. I think it should be for serious foul play and if it's a penalty. Other than that, the whole beauty of any sport is that sometimes there's human error in it, and
Because
that's
like they were taken off there down south, like they were taken off if a player was in his running position. Do you know what I mean? If his hand was out,
That's how stupid it is, Paul. It
and then
just could be
that's what I'm
somebody.
saying. Like they were,
I mean, you've
going to have to have
seen.
their hands out running, Mark. Do you get me?
And we've all seen guys that run weird. I think James Forrest runs a bit weird. Do you get what I mean when you watch him running? But as you say, Paul, it could just be the guy's running style that a bit of his elbows in front of. Do you get it? It's stupid. A bit of his toe.
Mark, like, it's
Nonsense.
It's like when a defender is jumping for a ball, he has to use his hand to elevate. Do you get me? Any player has to use his hand for elevate. And my fear is that if players are going to come in, like, and if they nudge a player, like if like, it's pure accidental, like because he's going to jump up anyway with his hands up, there's going to be a lot of red cards. Sean McVar because of that as well. You can't jump at the ball with your hands at your side.
No, you just look at your pogo and at a Sex Pistols concert then, don't you? About you know
what I mean? Like there's basic rules, like what you're saying there.
It's
like,
the rules of physics, Paul. Your body's got to move.
Yeah, but
you know
that's
what I mean?
I'm saying. Like that, these people who are running VAR like aren't doing it. Like I mean, like you see, over in Poland now, you can actually hear the referees on the mics. You can hear them. You know, you can hear the things on the mics. You can hear the referees, their discussions. Do you know what I mean?
Just see why we're talking about defenders here, Paul. I meant to say earlier when we were talking about the game yesterday. Defenders on the post and we wouldn't have conceded that goal.
Yeah, definitely.
Many times have we spoke about that as well. I don't know who it was. There was a Celtic player. No, it was Taylor. No, he was doing just like standing there holding a Ross County player. If he just took a couple of steps to the other side, he'd have stopped that goal going in.
Yeah, but I think Ange just totally this season, Mark, he's totally taken that away. We saw it pre-season as well. There was no defenders on the posts. Again, look, that's modern football now, Mark, isn't it? They want 11 men out on the field, not sitting back on the post. No. They're really
but we spoke about it umpteen times. It works, Paul. It's a kind of proven method, isn't it, to have a guy on the post like set pieces or corners going into the box.
The back post, the back post, because it's a bright spot for the keeper, because the keeper's going to be facing the way the ball is coming to. Do you get me?
Yeah, but the keeper's got two posts to cover rather than one.
Yeah.
You know, that's it for tonight, lads. I suppose, is it? Unless there's anything else.
Oh, no, unless Terence has got any wants to pipe up with. He's not been on for a while.
No, all good, lads, all good. It's nice to be back.
Terence, actually, just what Mark was saying there, like that you haven't been on for a while, and I asked Mark, you know what I mean, what have you seen differently this season with the Celtic team under Ange? What have you seen?
Well, for starters, he had everyone he wanted, and he has a proper pre-season. Makes a massive start. He's got strength in depth all over. Whereas previous to when he first came in, it was who can we put where, and not to be disrespectful. As we went back to the Dingwall match, they were bringing on young old Moffat, Joe, and then before the season ended, they had young Dawson playing centre forward. You look at the Celtic bench now. You can have Giacomakis, you can have Ralston, you could have Welch if he's fit, you could have James McCarthy, you could have Abada, you could have Tate if he's there. You can have
you'd be confident with any starting 11 really, Terence, wouldn't you?
You could have Turnbull, but you could take off majority of the players on the pitch, and the guy coming on for him is probably as good as him.
Remember
with the exception of McGregor or something like that. Sorry, Paul?
The great thing yesterday about that was the substitutions changed the game for me. The substitute, and we were saying, like what you were saying last season, we didn't have a bench. Do you get me? We didn't have someone to bring on to change the game. Yesterday we saw that. We saw the substitutions come on and change the game. You know.
Oh yeah, it's huge, and not only that, and I know it'd be interesting to see come the Champions League in particular. But he has he has so many players of good quality. He could. I know he doesn't say he's going to do it, but he could technically change his style of play.
Mhm.
Even that we didn't have these type of players. He got you meant Moy in, and he obviously Iraguchi's got a knock again. But he could technically he could change the way he wants to play. He could have one or two guys maybe sitting. He's got choices now which he didn't have 12 months ago, and
I
he's got
still
all these
think
guys in with pre-seasons under their belt, which is,
I
again
still think
12 months
Mark
ago he
is
didn't
going.
have that. Like
I still think he's going to do something like that in the Champions League. Have two players sitting. Just what Terence was saying there. That there's options there now for him to do that. To have two players sitting instead of just having Callum McGregor there.
well,
Not for the league, but for the Champions League, I think.
if they play Callum McGregor, I love Callum McGregor, but if they play Callum McGregor in the whole and all in the Champions League, they're going to get absolutely murdered.
Hmm.
And I don't
I've
mean that
said
in a way
that as well.
Hmm.
because Callum McGregor is a fantastic player, Paul. But Callum McGregor drives the team forward and he drives forward. So he's not your normal holding midfielder like Beaton would have been or James McCarthy does.
He can't tackle there. He
No, he
can't
can't. But
tackle. He can't, man. That's mad. I've said that for weeks to you, Paul. I'm terrified of us going into the Champions League with Cal McGregor being that man for our team. I agree. I think he's got to play two in that role.
and maybe man Moy is brought in for that particular reason that he can sit there with McGregor, and if McGregor does wander a bit forward, that at least there's still cover there. But and like I hate comparing to the other crowd across the other side of the city, but that's what got them to the final. They had two fellas that were constantly sitting there, and they were able to defend, and they weren't getting caught on the hop. Like you look at the Leverkusen game at Celtic Park in particular, Celtic were caught rotten 3 or 4 times. And through no fault of their own, because there was no one in that sitting area there. And against the good sides, Paul, that'll be my fear of the Champions League, because they're going to draw good sides. It's as simple as that. And it's just been sensible. You don't want to go away and have a Brendan Rodgers style ego like I want
Yeah,
to take
that's
on
definitely that's what me and you were saying, Mark, at the start of the season. That if we don't get someone in that position, we'll just get run about in the Champions League with Callum McGregor in that position. You know, Doctor Strange was saying more two-touch passing, more movement with and without the ball, making set pieces count again. I definitely think at the start of the show, Doctor Strange, if you missed it, that the lad Mortas Jens, I think he's going to be a huge asset to Celtic at corners. Like that header yesterday was a bullet. It was a rocket, like. You know, really what, and I think he's going to bring something that we haven't had on the edge at corners. Terence is physicality. You know,
and
really
both
do.
both offensively and defensively, Paul.
Yeah,
Both
yeah.
because you mentioned at the start, Mark mentioned it yourself. Like he's a big unit. Like he's something that we were seriously looking at. We didn't have height in the side. Like as good as Carter Vickers was, and as good as Starfield was, and even Welch has been. We didn't have that Julian style height. Whereas obviously this guy looks like he has it, and he looks like he can use it. You know what I mean? So, and I think after yesterday's performance from him, it's the centre back place is his. The guys now have to get him out of it, because I don't think he did a whole lot wrong yesterday.
Like, just go what Dr. Strange was saying there, right? Well scored as well yesterday. Is this down to Mark or set pieces? Is because O'Reilly is taking the corners now? Is that down to him and his delivery?
Well, I think that's a part of his delivery. Turnbull has got a good delivery on him as well, but if you look back, Paul, I've seen somebody on Twitter brought it to attention. Ange ran to wee Gavin Stratton right after the Welsh's goal last week and like cuddled him as if to say well done him. And I think they're kind of trying to say that maybe Gavin Stratton's working on the set pieces. And I think that's maybe what's getting hinted at. I mean, we've been stinking at them for a few seasons, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Making them work for us and defending them. So I don't know whether it is wee baby Stratton that's maybe looking into it and taking charge of that. But I've said before, Paul, see for me, that should be the players themselves that come up with wee routines to make things work. Do you
Yeah,
get what I
like
mean?
remember the
Players
one
themselves
last
messing
season with
about.
Conor McGregor. Remember that one? Do you remember that one with Conor McGregor?
Aye.
The set piece. That was a good technique, Mark. That was
Aye,
done on the
that's for me.
training
It should
ground,
be something like that. But maybe at corners it's a bit different because it is like all this kind of stat stuff probably. Because even probably Paul height will come into this kind of thinking with all this data stuff. Do you know what I mean? If they've got a wee left back, we can target him with long crosses
Yeah,
to one
exactly.
side, stuff like that. So, but. Both sides of it, Paul, I think we've really kind of improved just with what I've even seen this season at both ends with set pieces.
It's definitely something, Mark, we needed on the Ange. We needed a unit.
Aye.
You know, like he came out and said that it's
Need
not the player he was looking for, but defensively, we needed someone with more physicality in that
Aye.
defence. Do you know what I mean?
But orally, I know it's a big unit as well.
Yeah, he's
but
not-
Kev just said, I mean, I didn't
Strong
realise
lad.
how big he was. I saw a picture of him next to somebody the other day, and he was massive and well at himself and that. So that's maybe I'm not going to get down the Lewis Ferguson road again, but do you know what I mean? Maybe that
just
was
going what Dr. Strangelove as well, Mark. I said that as well after the Aberdeen game, that this season I noticed there's more movement off the ball. Like when we have the ball, there's always 2-3 players looking for it. Do you know what I mean? There's always 2-3 players free.
That's what we were saying, Paul, about how we're breaking
yeah.
these teams down now. We're always moving, we're always pushing them, pressing them.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it really, I think people said that it's always Ange's second season. Last season to me was unbelievable that we got the league. I think this season, Mark, is we're going to go from strength to strength. You know,
I'd agree
I'm
with
hoping
that.
for as a bonus. I'm hoping for not just for Ange, but for the Celtic fans. I'd like a nice run in Europe. I really would. You know, I'd like to sit down on a Wednesday night or Thursday night and turn on the European football, Mark, and Celtic are playing in it. Do you get me?
Aye.
You know,
Hopefully, anyway.
I really would like that now. You know, because you can't beat it. Like listen to the Celtic fans on singing "You Never Walk Alone" on the European night. It's just unbelievable. You know, that's it for tonight,
No,
lads.
before we go, Paul, the Ross Bartley thing. See, somebody asked about it earlier.
There was a couple of rumours going around, Mark. And
As far as I know, Frank Lampard, I've messaged Ed too to ask him. If he gets back to me, I'll find out and put it up my forum or Discord or something. But as far as I know, Frank Lampard wants him at Everton, but there's other folk no want him at Everton, and Fulham want him as well.
They don't want him because he left and wanted. They don't want him to come back because he left for Chelsea that time.
There's people
There's
still
one thing I
involved
want
at
to put
Everton.
up to you, right?
And here, I'll tell you now, I don't want Ross Bartley anywhere near Celtic. The guy's a complete tit, absolute cocky, man, honest to God, an absolute waster. I don't want him anywhere near
I'd be the
Celtic.
same. One player, Mikey, put up the live chat a while ago. He's put it on Discord, he's put it on a forum. This man wants out of Manchester United. He wants Champions League football. If United could facilitate his wages, would you take Ronaldo?
Do you go first turns?
Well, of course you would, but let's be fair about it. I'd like hair as well, and that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So, there's no chance.
I personally think Ronaldo would cause too much trouble, just because his
There's no
ego.
hope for Ronaldo going to Celtic. For fuck's sake, he's not going to be good enough to think the match or fucking playing in a plastic pitch against Kilmarnock.
Mickey is still dreaming, Terence. Mickey is still.
It's a dream. We're just dreaming, Terence, man. Give some love.
But,
I know. Listen, I saw it as well, and I was going, yeah, you're deep down, you'd be going, that would be amazing. But like,
imagine it. Jeez.
Oh, to be sensational. It'd be unbelievable. Like, but I mean,
I can't.
He takes that on as well to throw it in there.
Take your two of them. But it's good to dream, but it would be mental if something like that happened, wouldn't it? See, I'm not putting this in the same kind of league, but see, be honest, see when Gaza joined them, that was massive. I'll admit that was huge, honestly.
Aaron Ramsey bigger than that.
Well, so they say, but it was But
It was, Mark. That was huge back in the day when Gaza came to.
aye.
But
I mean,
he was still
I know he was a bit, well, no injury prone, but his injuries had took a bit of its toll on him and that. But when Gaza came to him, that was massive. And I would say, imagine CR7 rocking up at Celtic Park. Do you know what I mean?
Mark?
There'd be television cameras for all over the world at every Celtic game. The money we would make out of that would be unbelievable.
For everything that Gaza stands for, and I hate everything he stands for, but that man was really, really messed around in life as well. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about drinking and gambling. Like, that man had his demons as well. You know, really did. Like, and he was some player back in the day. Like, he really was.
He was some player. I'm not disputing that, Paul.
Yeah,
And
unbelievably he was, man. You know,
He's a two.
but that's it. There's players, Paul, that have blew it all over the years, and he did blow it. No matter what he blew it. He should have been. Gaza should have given down as one of the best players that the world's ever seen.
Mhm.
I mean, I can remember him when he burst onto the scene with Newcastle and that.
Yeah,
But
as a young lad.
It's a bit. They just
Was
let them
that
get
his
away. They
debut,
just let
man?
them get away with it, Paul, because
that
they're
his
making that
debut?
much money and they're making that. They just let the daftness flow because
Was that
it's
his
just.
debut when Vinnie Jones grabbed his testicles? That was his debut for Newcastle, wasn't it? He came on as a sub that time, wasn't it?
I can't even remember
I think
that.
that was
That
his
was his
first
debut,
game
but I remember
in-
the pictures and
Remember
that
that?
happening. That aye,
Yeah.
but that was some signing. But CR7 to Celtic would be different class.
Oh, unbelievable.
There, Kev, no, I can't see it. No, nobody's saying that, Kev. It was just something we were talking about in the Discord with Mike earlier. There's a bit of a laugh if it could happen. But just to come on, really. Can you imagine?
Do you remember that team back in the day? Joe Kinnear's Wilmington.
Aye, I can mind
Do you
that.
remember that
Aye,
team? Like,
the crazy gang.
The crazy gang. Like,
John Hartson was there.
John Hart was there. You had Vinnie Jones.
John
Was
Hartson-
Tim Flowers in goal for them that time as well? No, he wasn't.
No,
He was in goal from that time. Some fella called
Dave
O'Sullivan.
Bassett. Dave Bassett.
Bassett.
Dave
Aye,
Bassett.
aye.
Like, that was a tough place to go to under Joe
Dennis
Kinnear back then.
Dennis
wasn't
Wise.
it?
Dennis
Yeah.
Wise playing.
Dennis
John
Wise,
Franklin.
John Scales. That John Scales that
John
only played for
Scales from
Liverpool was
Manchester
there.
United. Yeah, no,
Liverpool it was
Manchester
he
United.
went to, was it no?
Wales, yes.
Yeah.
But that was some.
Terry Phelan.
High
Aye,
feeling was there. Christ, it
just
was.
shows you about how look how well a crowd of maniacs like us are doing, but it really is just, it shows you how a kind of group can just come together and do something that's not expected. Look at Denmark in the '92
Yeah,
European Championships.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they only got into that because was it the war in Yugoslavia? Aye,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
went on to win it.
yeah. You know,
So
really,
it shows you how the underdogs can. Well, look at when we lost 10 in a row. Just shows you how the underdogs can do well.
I tell you about back then, though, Mark. Schmeichel was. Peter Schmeichel was the best keeper around back then, though, wasn't he?
Oh, without a doubt. Peter Schmeichel's, I'd say Peter Schmeichel's probably the best goalkeeper I've ever seen, Paul.
Unbelievable what he really was. He really changed the dynamic of a goalkeeper. Where he used to come out and spread himself, didn't he?
Maybe Jota could have a word with Cristiano and see if he fancies it.
Imagine it, trying to come off the Celtic. but
Fighting where the sunbeds and the hair gel and that.
Imagine, like, can you imagine
He still,
the other
he
side
still would
of
be
the
the best
city?
player in the league, according to Chris Boyd anyway, so the other one.
I know what
But,
about
Mark,
that.
could you imagine, though, the other side of the city if we signed Ronaldo? Because I thought some fella's grandmother was stitching the stocks. Remember that story that you put out? Remember that?
Aye. The guy, his granny, what is it? Washes the socks and underpants of the Rangers players, and she's been told to stitch CR7 into socks and pants apparently. But I'm not saying that's true. It wasn't my granny, but the guy put it on the guy put it on the internet, and as we all know, anything on the internet is 100% true.
I know. The best thing about it was, like, they're not being printed on, but they're being stitched on.
Stitched on, like your old granny sitting with is it crocheting you called it with the crocheting, sitting crocheting CR7 into a pair of Mancake Story socks that
Yeah.
Morellis had wore
Randolph's
yesterday.
just saying the best keeper he saw was Oliver Kahn or Buffon. Yeah, Oliver Kahn was another nut.
Aye. He was
Typical German.
You need to be a bit typical German. That's a bit racist there, Paul.
No, but I'm saying like he had the like physicality of a German. Do you get me? Like back then, like the German teams were tough teams.
He looked like a member of the Aryan race.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're saying there, isn't it, Terence?
It is,
big, massive,
Yeah,
blonde-headed, blue-eyed guy. Typical German.
Paul, if you want to look at mad keepers, Paul, have a look at the German keeper back in the '82 World Cup.
Schumacher.
And the tackle on the French fella. Yeah.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yeah. Watch him. If there's ever a head the ball, he's one of them.
I don't know what was worse, that tackle of his perm, Terence.
Was it?
I don't know what was worse, the tackle of his perm. That Schumacher's perm had some hairdo, didn't he?
Oh, you'd love the perm now, bud. You'd love that now, the perm. You'd be joined to the hair thing. Like, you'd love the perm.
I see the Mohawk is coming back. As
long as you get shot of the man bun, Paul, that's all we're worrying about.
I don't know where you're getting a man bun. I don't have a man bun. No, I don't. I don't have. My hair is long.
Is your hair long enough to have a man bun?
It is long enough to have a man bun. Yes.
Right, yeah.
I don't have a man bun. Do you get me?
But you've got issues still, like. You need to cop on, like.
Terence, you're just jealous. I have hair.
He's why you shave your hair and send it down to him.
Listen, I'd rather be bald than look like Olivia Newton-John or whatever she's called. You know what I
mean? Monica out of Friends.
The abuse I get on this podcast. Only the abuse I get. Like.
What's your hair then?
Huh?
What's your hair, the normal thing?
It's just fun.
No, we'll do a sponsored shave for Paul.
Oh yeah.
Sponsor what?
We'll get sponsors and you can shave your hair
live. Not at all. I don't care what charity it is. I would never shave my head. I don't know what charity they would say.
It must have some shape of heat then, isn't it?
Oh, they could tell me, but pause for a good cause, there's starving people, there's blah blah blah. Don't look at me, I'm not shaving my hair.
Is your hair longer than your missus?
No. Jesus Christ, I'm not that
Thank
bad.
It's close, it's got to be close.
I'd say
do you use the same shampoo and conditioner?
No, I have my own stuff, boy.
You're in conditioner?
Oh, curlers. You have a hair straightener, do you?
You put conditioner in your hair?
Hair straightener, Jesus Christ, I'm my fucking hell. Jesus Christ.
Wait a minute, you've got your own conditioner?
Yes, of course I do. Well, yeah. Have to give it the volume, but have to give it the volume.
That's
the volume. You're still fucking the volume.
You know what it's going to be? It's going to be like Ross out of Friends. Isn't it?
Yeah, but longer, yeah.
But longer? That's fucking worse, mate.
Back in the day when I was playing in goal, Jesus Christ, I know what I was thinking. I used to have the sweatbands, the Nike sweatbands. Remember those from some years ago? Jesus Christ, man.
You need to get some photos dug out.
No wonder people on the opposite team are going, Jesus Christ, look at that nut job in goal there. What's he?
They were all going, take a shot, lads. They've got a girl in goals.
Aye. His hair will get in his eyes.
They've got a girl in goals. Take a shot now.
Oh, you're bad men. The abuse I get. That's it for tonight, lads. Thanks very much to Terence for the abuse. Always good when he comes on the podcast, unfortunately. Thanks to the lads on the live chat for telling us. The couple of new lads on there. Bantes, there was Pedro, Dr. Strainlove joined us. Campsy came in. Kevin Gallagher joined us tonight as well. Thanks very much, lad. If you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. Mark will close the show.
Right, thanks very much, Paul, for everything you do. Thanks again, Terence, for coming on. That was a bit easier tonight, wasn't it? It seemed to go a bit better. Everybody that joined us, really appreciate it. Everybody that listens in. If you remember, Steph's wee charity, a shout out again. One of the guys is doing a charity walk for St Andrew's Hospice up Ben Nevis. If you can afford to get in, and the link for it's in the description box below, it would be really appreciated. Thanks very much again, lads. Good night, hail, hail, and God bless.